Let us all give a wonderful round of applause for the teacher, KRS-ONE.
Let's get right to the point. And I'm struggling with my voice because the more I use it, the better it gets. I screamed and yelled yesterday, and obviously my voice is a little raspy, but the more I use it, the better it gets. And I say that because the soul is the same way.
Peace and welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. I am Son One, an apprentice committed to the Temple of Hip Hop. And this presentation is produced to give you some information regarding the Temple of Hip Hop, its function, and its history.
These missions that we do, this mission that we're on, has been happening for the last 30 years. What you're sitting in is a long-standing tradition with hip hop. And this is the purpose for what we call the Temple of Hip Hop. We started in 1996, really before that, but the term Temple of Hip Hop didn't come to us until 1996. Like I said before, for 30 years, hip hop has been meeting like this and discussing itself.
We're not looking to make $1 million, we're looking to have a presence where people know that there's a legitimate force out there that is ran by legitimate people about this culture. If you have questions about the culture and you want legitimate answers, not yo man, you know what I'm saying, but legitimate answers that you can go and print somewhere in a college journal about a culture, you need to come see the Temple of Hip Hop.
The Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation society which functions as an authentic hip hop ministry. We preach the attainment of peace, love, unity, and safely having fun through the mastery of breaking, MCing, graffiti art, and DJing.
What's up? How y'all doing? Yeah, now look, if y'all ain't hyped yet, you will be hyped before you leave here tonight. Because tonight we're going to establish the authority of hip-hop culture.
The mission began with the launch of the Stop the Violence movement in 1989, and then with Human Education Against Lies, HEAL, in 1991. In 1994, KRS-ONE declared, "I am hip-hop," and began to inspire the global hip-hop community to see itself beyond music entertainment. During this time, KRS-ONE would unify the essence of the hip-hop community around the development of hip-hop as a global culture, and how such a culture could be preserved and passed on to future generations. Others at the time had brought up the idea of rappers forming a union capable of providing health care and legal defense for rappers and DJs. But it was KRS-ONE that introduced the idea of hip-hop being an international culture of peace and prosperity for all those practicing hip-hop's cultural elements.
But the theme of unifying hip-hop as a culture, unifying artists, and having them organized in a fashion where they can control their political power, control their economic power, their creative power, etc., etc.
It was KRS-ONE that put the K in hip-hop's culture and actually did the work to unify hip-hop into a global community beyond entertainment. But such ideas would be met with fierce opposition and sabotage. Prominent hip-hop pioneers, journalists, professors, and artists alike refused to accept the idea of hip-hop becoming a legitimate global culture. They argued for its continued existence as a music genre, hip-hop. When KRS-ONE first stated, "I am hip-hop," his critics thought that he was speaking only of himself, that he alone was hip-hop. But what our teacher was saying was that not only did he realize that he was hip-hop itself, but that anyone participating in hip-hop was also hip-hop itself.
But someone else would say, yes, I am hip-hop. Now the two of us are united. I'm hip-hop, this person's hip-hop. Class don't matter. Gender don't matter. Race don't matter. Religion don't matter. Hip-hop is above all of that. You can be whatever you want to be. All we want to know is, can you break? Can you MC? Can you DJ? Can you do craft? Can you beatbox? What is your culture? What is the content of your character?
Through his songs, books, and lectures, over a 30-year period, KRS-ONE taught the hip-hop community about itself and made it cool to be intelligent. This is why he is hip-hop's official teacher.
I want to clarify something that you heard. Look in the back of this tag. You see in the back of, is that your tag?
Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, that's when the tag is pointing down to where the party's at.
The tag was pointing with a party.
That was the direction. Whoa, that's crazy. Yeah, you come this far, this is keep on coming down and step to the valley. Right. Down to the, you're going out to the water. Right. That was a turn down to the water. Right. A major D and highway.
Down to the top.
Turn the place. Matter of fact, my first girlfriend was from Transylvania. Just had to play border.
That's me and Kenny.
You see the trail coming down?
Yeah.
We're doing the inner steps there. All right. Okay.
Back, taking it back.
Now this part right here, you stay filthy. You see all this right here? Only time the kids, anybody know, anytime, let's say, man, this is it. When the park is clean, earth is coming down. I said, you want me to come out there and play? I gotta clean the park up. See, yeah. A whole lot of dirt to cover down here, man. So it's not like that, man. Whoa. He was there. You couldn't come out. You was hearing madness.
I was hearing it.
You was hearing it. Oh shit! Good. I live on the other side of the building here. Right. And this is the park right here.
We was
and
out our window.
This is the daycare center. That daycare center's still there, man. Oh. This is where I belong to our first party for 70C. But this is the block party.
I needed to verify the tag.
That's it.
Because only God would have positioned my mother like that.
Word up! That is crazy.
He had no idea what was going on.
Right.
When no one else was thinking about hip-hop as a teachable subject, KRS-ONE was out there lecturing at universities, performing at sold-out concerts, and writing books pertaining to hip-hop years before it became fashionable to do so. In 1994, after declaring "I am hip-hop" for the first time, KRS-ONE held a Meeting of the Minds conference at the Schomburg Center for Research and Black Culture in Harlem, New York. Many pioneers were in attendance. This was the first time the question as to how to preserve hip-hop as a new global culture was properly asked.
With question number one being, what in our minds is the most important aspect to preserving the culture of hip-hop?
In 1997, the Temple of Hip Hop held its first hip-hop census, which asked thousands of hip-hoppers their definitions of hip-hop and where hip-hop should be going. In the same year, the Temple of Hip Hop held major public and private hip-hop cultural conferences all across the United States, seeking the proper definition, history, and purpose of hip-hop as an actual world culture.
Well, it started from myself. I was the first. Hip-hop to me right now is like it's on the course of a relay. I was the first guy who started off with the baton. You know, I started off like that, and the origin, West Indian background. I was born in the West Indies, from Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica.
Led by KRS-ONE, the Temple of Hip Hop continued to produce many of these kinds of meetings and lectures, ultimately establishing Hip Hop Appreciation Week every third week in May in 1998. and then going on to declare hip-hop a legitimate world culture of peace and prosperity May 16, 2001 at the United Nations headquarters in New York. This gathering at the delegates' dining room revealed the Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace.
Wherever the elements, culture, and expressions of hip-hop and the term hip-hop manifest, this hip-hop Declaration of Peace shall govern its use and interpretation. Hip-hop respects the dignity and sanctity of life without discrimination or prejudice. Hip-hop culture demands that hip-hoppers work to eliminate poverty, speak out against injustices, and to shape a more caring society and a more peaceful world. Hip-hop does not participate in any form of hate at any time. Those who are not hip-hop are prohibited from explaining or interpreting hip-hop to others. Hip-hop respects the laws and agreements of its culture, its country, and those it does business with. Hip-hop is the name of our collective consciousness. As a conscious way of life, we recognize our influence on society, especially on children, and we forever shall keep the welfare of both in mind.
This groundbreaking document is the only legally established, NGO-recognized agreement in the world regarding the existence of hip-hop as a legitimate global culture of peace and prosperity. It was at this historic gathering of serious scholars, UN delegates, artists, hip-hop pioneers, and journalists that the Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace was established by hip-hop for hip-hop, with the ceremonial acknowledgement of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. As KRS-ONE stated at the signing of the Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace, quote, "Now that we exist, there will never not be a time where we shall not exist. Even if hip-hop stops tomorrow, it will always be remembered. Its influences shall remain entrenched in the very fabric of the societies in which it existed. Our existence as a temple for hip-hop brings balance to hip-hop in world history. Knowing that hip-hop is the name of our social group in world history, it becomes obvious then that no one is going to intentionally protect, promote, and preserve hip-hop for the sake of hip-hop. This we are going to have to do for ourselves, and this is what it means to be hip-hop," end quote.
Before we get to the elements, the artistic elements, before we get to the performances, you got to ask yourself, what caused us to do that? Not the rapping, yo. What makes a person want to even do that? Well, what makes you even think that you can touch the turntable and manipulate it in such a way that it's now at the level of a guitar or a violin or a horn? You took an appliance, and because of your perception of the appliance changed, not you.
Membership with the Temple of Hip Hop begins with one securing a copy of the Gospel of Hip Hop for oneself. Entry into our society of attuned hip hoppers begins with the study of the Gospel of Hip Hop on one's own time at one's own pace. Those with a copy of the Gospel of Hip Hop are considered temple members. Everything about our temple, its meaning and purpose, its schedule and its mission is further explained there. Contentment and self-acceptance begins our ministry. The accurate documentation of hip-hop's existence in the world begins our archive. The teaching of an authentically hip-hop curriculum begins our school. And our unity around the overstandings of the gospel of hip-hop begins our society. Welcome to the Temple of Hip-Hop.
So in faith, we say, we know this is already done. We let it be. We are the people. And there it is. There it is.
Thank you for this time.
Hello, everyone. What a great presentation we just witnessed. Shout out to Sun One. He's behind the scenes today, but he is with us. So know that, definitely. Welcome again to the Temple of Hip Hop. I am the acronologist, GSIMONE. The Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation ministry, archive, school, and society approaching hip hop as a divinely inspired global culture of peace and prosperity. Last week, we discussed the spirit of graffiti art and how important colors and creating art is to our well-being. We also learned the acronym for SPIRIT, something pressing inside, revealing its truth. And we asked the question, what is that pressing inside of you that wants to reveal its truth? We hope you followed the pressing and made your first step to manifestation. Before the teacher begins, I want to acknowledge March. March is Women's History Month, and March 8th is International Women's Day. Shout out to all the women. The commemoration began in 1978 as Women's History Day in Sonoma County, California, and was championed by Gerda Lerner and the National Women's History Alliance to be recognized as a national week. President Jimmy Carter designated March 2nd to the 8th, 1980 as National Women's History Week, and since 1995, presidents have issued a series of annual proclamations designating the month of March as Women's History Month. These proclamations celebrate the contributions women have made to the United States and recognize specific achievements over the course of American history in a variety of ways. I'm sorry about that. My papers got confused. In a variety of ways. But today we want to celebrate my friend and sister in hip hop, Cindy Campbell. Cindy is the mother of hip hop. Cindy's business management knowledge allowed her to create successful opportunities and negotiate vital contracts for her brother and the father of hip hop, Kool Herc, who we just saw in the presentation. Cindy had a vision to organize a back to school party, but little did she know that her back to school party on August 11, 1973 was to become known as the beginning of hip hop. This established her as the first hip hop promoter and booking agent. So we want to shout out Cindy today, and also we want to shout out Desire One, Maggie Love, and Ambitious One, and all the other ladies listening. Shout out to everyone. Ladies, continue to love and develop yourself. That's the acronym for lady. Love and develop yourself this month and always. Also today, the teacher is here. Today is daylight saving time, March 13th. So remember to set your clock up an hour. Again, this is the Temple of Hip Hop. And now for the teacher, KRS-ONE.
Yes. Thank you, Simone, for that.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. Peace.
You know what? Let me scoot over.
Yes, scoot over.
Scooting over.
That's good.
Yeah, I forgot about that presentation that was laid down some years ago. Nice selection, I should say, for our start today. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the teacher. Let me bring this up closer. I'll just bring this up a little closer. Okay. We're talking about the teacher today. And lo and behold, you actually have the teacher with you to actually discuss that. Welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. You know, we get down like this every Sunday at 12 o'clock. We get down just like this. This is a philosophical research center as a title within the center of hip hop. This is a delineated space for hip hop. This is a sacred space in the culture of hip hop. We call ourselves the Temple of Hip Hop. So before I begin, let me shout out. Let me give a few shout outs just before we start today's reading. First of all, shout out to everybody who sent in their video. Big up to that. Sent in your video for raw hip hop. Last week, if you remember, Sun One had mentioned that we was taking in videos. We're shooting various videos for the album IMAMCRU12, and raw hip hop seems to be one of the records that a lot of people are listening to over and over and so on. So we're doing a little video for it. And we asked last week exclusively just on in this particular situation this course, this class, that you had the opportunity to send in your video. If you want to be part of this video or whatever, send in your video, and we'll see what it looks like, and if we can include it into the new KRS-ONE video called Raw Hip Hop. So some of you sent in some stuff. It was really funny. And others sent in some stuff that was really serious. And so we thank you for that, for following up as well. Shout out to the 1.5 million people coming up on this week that enjoyed the video, Can You Dance? Shout out to all of you that watched the video and enjoyed it. It's a really great response on that. That people, you know, sometimes I forget that I'm also speaking or entertaining, rhyming to a new audience. You know, the WAP and the Dougie and, you know, these kinds of, well, Dougie's kind of new, but the WAP and the Cabbage Patch and the Running Man and these kinds of dances, this is what we grew up with. But surprisingly, lo and behold, a lot of people have not really actually seen these dances done in the last 10 and 20 years. And it's just, I'm speaking to some of the responses I'm hearing back, like, wow, I haven't seen that in a while, or you know, I'm doing it. People like, yo, I'm doing this right now, you know, kind of thing. But I mentioned this not only just as a shout out, also, but okay, I just got caught a note. I mentioned that not only as a shout out to everybody listening to that particular video and supporting the album. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. But also to just take a look at the information. Hold on one second. Hold on. I want to make sure I get this. Okay, I got it. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. So look, forget all that. This is my shout out. And that's it. I'm getting all types of messages and stuff as we're actually talking here. May 16th to the 22nd, 2022 is Hip Hop Appreciation Week. Boom, let me say it again. May 16th to the 22nd, 2022 is Hip Hop Appreciation Week from Monday to Sunday. This year, every third week in May is Hip Hop Appreciation Week. So this week, May 16th to the 22nd, 2022, is our celebration of Hip Hop Appreciation Week for this year. The theme this year is breaking. Let me say it again. The theme this year is breaking. Let me show you what's happening as well with Hip Hop Appreciation Week. This year and every year after this, what we're doing is, before this year, like 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, all the way back to 1998, we have been looking at certain themes for the week. We say, okay, Hip Hop Appreciation Week is this week, this date on this week. The theme is gratitude. The theme is peace. The theme is love. Every year we switch the theme and we come up with a theme. Usually some of you who have been with the Temple of Hip Hop for a minute now, maybe up to 10 years, 5 years, you'll notice that within those years I would ask, what is the theme? And some of you would come up with, well, it should be this, should be that, and we would grab something and that would become the theme for the week. Well, we're changing that. We're just getting a little more organized and ordered because our temple is it's expanding. More people are learning, more people are teaching from our teachings. So we're getting organized. Not that we are not, we're getting more organized, I should say. And that organization, that organization points to not only Hip Hop Appreciation Week being this May 16th to the 22nd, 2022, but that from this moment on, we're going to go through the 9 elements, meaning we're going to, like I just said, May 16th, 2022, May 16th to the 22nd, 2022. And you know what's twisting me? This 2022 with the 22. That's crazy. I'm not even going to get into that. May 16th to the 22nd, 2022. Just happens to be the third week in May this year, dealing with exact numbers. But we're starting with breaking, go through the 9 elements of hip hop. Breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and street entrepreneurialism. Those are the 9 elements of hip hop that we teach. And this is the 9 elements that we're going to rotate. We're going to rotate these from now into infinity, or until someone changes this. But for right now, it's going to be breaking. The next year, it'll be MCing. The year after that, it'll be graffiti writing. The year after that, DJing. After that, beatboxing, fashion, language, knowledge. So imagine these 9 elements, and they rotate. You're going to rotate like that. And so we begin like this. And I mention this because you should make notes of this. You should make notes of this so that you know what's going on. What I'm thinking about here is that the temple of hip hop may actually be one of the years, but we'll wait 10 years from now. We'll wait. But for now, we're going to start out with breaking, which is our first element in the definitions. Breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing, like that. Okay. Street fashion, street language, street knowledge. So year 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. That's how we're doing it. All right. And as Simone just mentioned, it's daylight savings time. The way I remember it is you spring forward and fall back. Something like that. Spring forward and fall back. So set your clocks ahead right now. And it just shows you also the arbitrariness of time. And how is it possible to change the clock if the clock is set? Like if the clock is following some sort of universal order or time, some sort of natural order or time. They claim they're following the sun. Some claim the moon. But we have to keep adjusting the time in order to keep up with nature. Something's not right. There's another way to calculate time that is obviously more advanced than what we're dealing with. Just something to think about. It's not today's lesson, but I'm ending my shout outs and announcements with daylight savings time. Just for us to remember that we should, move our watches and clocks up, time up. But how could you move time up? What is the schedule that we're on? And again, I mention this all the time. What is a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday? What is an o'clock? 3 o'clock, 4 of the clock. What is the clock? Who made the clock, and why are we watching the clock and saying that we work according to these schedules? Just have the ability to think outside of them. We're not criticizing the invention of the week or the month or the year. But if you can't think outside of this, they got you. And this is what the point is to our lessons and our studies here, that we're not here to get got. We're here to learn and be free. And that's what hip hop is about. Freedom, justice, equality. Here we are. Oh, put my hair down real quick. Here we are with the gospel of hip hop. And we're on the 11th overstanding called the TEACHA. Now, this is an interesting one here. This is an interesting overstanding. All of our overstandings are interesting for the times they're in, but this one here is really interesting. And this is why it's really interesting to us, to our study. Because even though this is the 11th overstanding, it's really the first overstanding. And this is the first note that I want you to make at the top of the 11th overstanding. If you got a little space, or make it wherever you want to make it. But the 11th overstanding of the gospel of hip hop is where you actually bring a new member of the temple of hip hop to. Now, keep in mind that all of these lessons that we're about to teach here, after we went through graffiti art, the graffiti art lesson, from the teacher on now, we're setting you up for you to create your own temple of hip hop where you are. Now, you're going to have to make a note of that, mental note or a note here, whatever it is, but you got to know that from the 11th overstanding on to the end, okay, of this book, this is preparing you to become a teacher yourself and open a temple in your city yourself. So this 11th overstanding, even though the author is talking to you right now, and some of this I will be talking about myself in this, you'll see it in the lesson. You got to know that this overstanding the teacher is not for me, it is for you. Actually, it is for me. It is always for me. As a matter of fact, it was for me first. It was first for me. But you get my point. The point is that this lesson is for you. What I'm teaching here today is for you to become the teacher and open a temple in your neighborhood or, in your house or wherever and teach the gospel correctly. So this is the first note. The first note is these are the instructions for you to become the teacher. And this is also this first part. This lesson, these lessons too, are broken up into 5 parts. Broken up into 5 parts. The teacher is broken up into 5 parts, and I'm going to go over those parts with you during this read. So this is the first part. The first part is called the introduction. The introduction to the Temple of Hip Hop Apprenticeship. That's the note you want to put down. This first part, which says, which is the first paragraph, paragraph 1. From there onward, and we'll get to 2 and 3 and 4. But right now, this is the first thing we discussed in this overstanding is the Temple Apprentice. Those that want to join the Temple of Hip Hop seriously, become teachers of hip hop's culture, those that understand what we're doing and want to support, this is it right here. This clarifies what we are, who we are, and why we are. And it's written specifically so that there's no confusion. We're not running around acting crazy, wild and stupid, don't understand nope. It's all written right here. And this is what we're following right here. This brings us to the center. So the first part, this first lesson is the introduction of the temple and its teachings to the apprentice. This is an introduction for the apprentice. And this is why I say this should be read first. If someone says, man, what's the Temple of Hip Hop? What's that all about? And they're asking you, reach for your gospel and turn to the 11th, if they're serious. Say, look, this is what it might be about for you. This is what it is. Now let's read. The idea of submitting yourself to a teacher, instructor for the purpose of specialized knowledge, advice, and or guidance is a very important and ancient concept. However, in today's world of betrayal, incompetence, and deceit, it is hard to trust anyone with any area of your life. Yet, without trust, it is impossible to learn anything new from anyone. This is important. We're not highlighting yet.
Information travels from one human being to another or upon the chariot of respect, which then leads to trust, which then leads to learning. If there is not a mutual respect and trust between the student apprentice and the teacher, then nothing can be taught or even learned, and both teacher and student slash apprentice are wasting their time together. For any real learning to occur, both teacher and student apprentice must take each other seriously. The truth is simple and obvious. Those who teach the truth of any subject must teach in simple, easy to understand, and obvious ways. Truth is simple, while ignorance is very complicated. There is no need to waste your energy aimlessly critiquing the teachings of your teacher if the results of your teacher's teachings are obvious and plain for all to see. No excuses, just results. Any criticism in the face of real results only exposes the insecurities of the critic. Such criticisms have also been used to break up and diffuse mass movements and life-saving ideas by creating mass doubt. However, the truth is obvious. A teacher's teachings are shown and experienced in that teacher's life. A proven teacher is already benefiting from what is being taught. A true teacher lives the results of his teachings. Let's go ahead and highlight that. That is the first highlight of today. No, I got it. I'm right here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and highlight 3 and 4. Let's go back and highlight 3 and 4. Okay, 3 and 4. And what I do want to do is go back to the end of paragraph 2 and underline this last part right here. For any real learning to occur, both teacher and student apprentice must take each other seriously. And notice the word each other. It's not that I have to take you seriously or you have to take me seriously exclusively. We have to take each other seriously for learning to occur. Slow down on that and think about that. There has to be a mutual respect, because today certain teachers don't respect their students. They think they know. So you just listen to what I'm saying and this and that. And no respect for the student's ideas or interpretation of what you're even saying. Then there's students that don't respect their teachers. I know. You don't know. You're the teacher. Yeah. This thing. We got to put that immaturity aside. The teacher, the student, apprentice, has to respect each other and has to take each other seriously for real learning to occur. So underline 2, the last sentence of paragraph 2, and then highlight 3 and 4. Highlight 3 and 4. Now at the end of 4, you can go ahead and underline, a true teacher lives the results of his teachings. Did you hear that? A true teacher lives the results of his teachings. See, and this is the difference between a hip-hop teacher and a lot of other teachers. Our teaching is based on us eating. I mean, I know other teachers teach for a living too, but if you're subsidized by the state, if you're in a university, if you're, if this is what it is, you can get lazy. You can get intellectually comfortable, complacent. A street teacher like me, no, we're in front of hungry people, people who want real knowledge, and you can't just tell them, oh, Jesus gonna help you. You can't just tell them, yo, you got to know yourself.
You can't just tell them, yo, we all got to come together, because when we come together and unity, and no, you have to have a tantalizing message right there on a street level that a street person can understand. And you got to respect the streets, folks. And the streets got to respect. Oh, here we go now. And the streets got to respect you for any learning to go down. And this is the difference. The hip hop teacher, an authentic one, has the community's respect. So the community comes around because they say, well, he is the teacher. She is the teacher. Let's hear what she got to say. Let's hear what he got to say, because we respect the fact that he's the teacher. Now the teacher. These people are congregating around wanting to hear a solution to a challenge facing us all. It's my duty to come up with ideas for that challenge. Not stupid stuff like Christopher Columbus discovered America, or in a hip hop sense, what rappers' lyrics influenced American society. Like, and I know, and let me say this too, with all due respect to those who teach lyrics and their effect on society, I'm not gigging on you. I'm not dissing. But we all get into a heavy teaching curriculum right here. And let me be honest with you, okay? Studying rap lyrics and their impact on society is like kindergarten compared to what real hip hop education is. When we talk about hip hop as lifestyle, we don't need to hear about what Tupac did, what Biggie did, unless it's going to enhance our lifestyle. Now we need to hear what they did. And this is the difference also between a true hip hop curriculum and the rest of the stuff you see out there that's calling itself a hip hop master course, master classes. And I'm not dissing, but you're talking to the original teacher, so I'm not going to bite my tongue either. We're going to teach the course, and we're going to be honest about it. Half of what, not even half, 99% of what that's out there talking about a master class is kind of immature. And not immature in a silly way. The knowledge doesn't go far enough. You're not giving hip hop anything other than what we can already look up online. That's why you're studying with the first teacher of hip hop right now, and you're reading hip hop's first gospel in its first temple. We know what we're talking about here. It's been 35 years. We have some idea of what we're dealing with here. And this is the point. A real hip hop teacher is coming with the knowledge that its community needs to hear. Not bringing other knowledge and this kind of thing. Sure, we reference all kinds of knowledge and we know all kinds of things. But when you're talking to your culture, you got to deal with your culture and the challenges facing your culture as a teacher. What are you teaching? Some more regurgitation from another culture? Because that's the habit of your own mind? No. You have to now become the teacher for a culture. And that means your loyalty and your patience and all of that has to come together for your culture, in your culture and for your culture. You go back to the divine performance, those characteristics, that character as a habit is the habit of the teacher. Because you can't teach if you don't respect your students, your apprentice. You can't really teach if you don't care about the well-being of your students. That's what makes the teaching robust, really. It makes it vital and vibrant, is that when you care, like me, I'm not going to sit here and toot my own horn, but I really care whether you guys make it or not. That's the truth. Myself, my wife, we really care about your well-being. That's why we're doing this. That's the only reason why we're doing this, because we do care. And I say that honestly. We care about what you're going through. And a lot of it we went through. You know what I'm saying, huh? Speak your word.
We know it. We know the experience. So it's like to give you a heads up. Like, some information that you could take into, because every situation is not going to be the same. Everybody's experience is not going to be the same in it. But if you have some tools to work with while you're in it, you could grow and develop,
Love and develop yourself. Grow and develop yourself. Absolutely, Simone. No, and that's real. Giving you a heads up, as Simone just eloquently laid out, giving you a heads up. That's what this is. And you don't get a heads up from a person who don't care about you. You know, it's like a hip hop heads up. Heads up, look up. Yo, know what's going on, know your possibilities, know what you're capable of. Heads up. Let's continue. This is why the Temple of Hip Hop offers its apprenticeship to all serious hip hoppers seeking to live a productive hip hop lifestyle. Here, an apprentice is one who is bound by indenture to serve one's teacher for a prescribed period of time, learning the specifics of the hip hop art, life, and trade. That's what an apprentice is. That's what an apprentice is. Let me read it for you again. Here, and this is the traditional of what an apprentice is, put it that way. Here, an apprentice is one who is bound by indenture. Bound, okay? You're making a commitment, not chains and that stupidness, but a mental commitment, a mental bond. Here, an apprentice is one who is bound by indenture to serve one's teacher for a prescribed period of time, learning the specifics of the hip hop art, life, and trade. Stop here for a minute. We used to offer, before COVID and now war breaking out, but when the tours were more frequent, we offered apprenticeships to people, and they were free actually. To imagine that. The KRS-ONE would say to a group of, you come to my lecture, and I say, if you want to study hip hop for real, to the lifestyle, not in a book, come with me on a rap tour, because there all 9 elements are you have to live them every day, pretty much master all 9 of these elements in order to have a successful hip hop tour. So we used to bring people out as apprentices, and it works on both ends. Sometimes I had attorneys come as apprentices, and I get a free attorney service. So it's an exchange of skill. You don't have the money, or you don't want to spend the money, or whatever it is. You say, look, I'm going to put myself down. I'll put my talent, I'll put my reputation, I'll put my body down. I'll lift a box. I'll wash a car. I'll watch kids. I'll walk a dog. Whatever it is, I will offer myself for this knowledge, for this access. And we've done that in the past, and it's worked out really well for us. I mean, it really has worked out, but it's temporary because the tours don't always happen, and the opportunities to live the full hip hop life we're not always able to share that life with other people. Like, for instance, second to touring to live the life is getting a house, an actual house, which we had in Atlanta before COVID, or during COVID even, had a Temple of Hip Hop house in Atlanta. There you can come and live out the hip hop lifestyle 24/7, all day, every day, and learn how to really live hip hop. Because again, most of us say we're living hip hop, but we're really not. It's part-time. We're living hip hop part-time. Or some of us will say, hip hop is my total heart, which it might be. My whole heart, my whole mind is hip hop, but my livelihood is in the world. And that can be stifling. If you want to live this culture completely, the culture should be able to feed you, clothe you, shelter you, and educate you. It should be able to protect you as well. That's what we're building. That's what we've been building since 1989 with the Stop the Violence movement. That's the vision. This is the whole vision. This is what it is. Hip hop as lifestyle. It's supposed to be able to take care of us completely. It's supposed to be our whole life, hip hop. So we're working toward that. And everyone doesn't have that privilege to live hip hop, even though your mind is completely absorbed and your heart is there with us. you still don't make your money that way. Your family might not be down. You still got to go to these schools. You know, you're still in the world in that sense, and you're not complete. You can't completely live the hip hop lifestyle. We're hoping that the Temple of Hip Hop can remedy that by offering hip hoppers the hip hop lifestyle, a safe, productive, successful lifestyle. You know, so let's continue the read. Just wanted to make that clear about the apprenticeship. People have gotten away from apprenticeships because, you know, we just, in our mind, it's a habit, pay for education. That's it. But the original way, at least from the point of view of mystery schools, philosophical centers, any of that, and skills that are hands-on, you know, hands-on skills. You take on an apprentice. The apprentice pretty much does everything for the teacher. But that doing everything for the teacher is teaching the apprentice what needs to be done. What needs to be done. And the teacher benefits by that apprenticeship, because then you don't have to spend money on salaries and employees that are not really with what you're doing, but you need certain things done. So you got to pay for help, pay for this, pay for resources, pay for expertise in certain areas. That could be daunting. The teacher is supposed to be surrounded by students that have skills. Remember that. The teacher is surrounded by students with skills. When you pick your students, don't pick skillless students, unless, of course, you have a reason to. But don't deliberately pick. No, if we're doing an apprenticeship, what are you offering for this knowledge? What are you offering for this access? And it's not just what are you giving like a payment, it's how are you going to survive while you're here? How are you going to do this? Somebody will come and say, listen, I'm a filmmaker. I'll rock this whole thing for you right now. And I got my cameras and I get down. Oh, let's go. Access. Somebody else says, yo, what I got to give? Listen, I'll spit this raw to you right now. I'm an MC. I know everybody here want to be an MC, but let me tell you, I'm the dude, my dude. Give me one shot on stage and I will show you that you need me on that stage. I'm the apprentice. I want to learn this whole knowledge. I am an MC, but I want to offer my MC services like a DJ. I want to offer my DJ services. I am a DJ. I want to rise as a DJ. So I am going to offer my DJ services for a larger knowledge and access. This is what an apprenticeship is. And we need to get back to this, which the Temple of Hip Hop has already done. We do this often. COVID and war breaking out is interrupting everybody's plans, and same thing with us. We're now looking at the purchasing of buildings, a space, a campus, this kind of thing. We're now talking about that. Like I said to you, some of you have heard me talk about Newark, New Jersey. We're looking in that area. We're looking in the Bronx, places like that. You know, this kind of thing. We're thinking about having that so that we can have a place where you could go and be hip hop 24/7, where there's resources and support for that. You know, real jobs, real work, real apprenticeships, real entrepreneurships. Hip hop is $1 billion culture. It's just about knowledge. You just have to know how to live it, and you have to take it seriously. And again, you're talking to someone who's doing this right now. I don't have no job. I don't have no job. Okay, let's get that straight. Okay, I'm an unemployed black man in America. Okay, they call it entrepreneur to put some color on it, to put some dignity and respect on it. But technically, I'm an unemployed black man in America surviving, hustling every day to eat. But I wouldn't have it no other way. No other way. When I was young, we started this thing called hip hop, and it was part of our hustle. We used to go down to the Times Square, Manhattan, and break for money. We used to get on the street corner and rap for money. Don't get it twisted. We did it for the love. That's how we got the skill. But then we had to eat. We had to eat. And so now we go and we say, look, I want them new gazelles. I want that sheepskin. I want this. I want what? I got some pride in myself too. These things cost money. What do we have? Our skill. Master the skill, you get the money. We learned that early. So here now we have the mastery of our skill. Mastery. Not just I do it. Yeah, I rap. Nah, I'm that dude. That's how you have to take it. And no, I DJ. Yeah, I get down a little bit. I DJ. You ain't getting no money. Your attitude should be like, no. Wait, hold up. Say that word DJ and slow around me because I am. That's your attitude. Your attitude got to be like that. Your attitude should actually be like that. I am. And then what are you? So, and when I say what are you a professional at what you're doing? Are you or an amateur? Everybody starts out amateur. Even me, I started out, I didn't pop out the master. No, I didn't. I started stupid. Straight stupid. I was watching and looking like everybody else and didn't realize who I was. Well, now that we know who we are and we walk in it and the power is there, real power is here. The real hip hop is over here. It's here. And we're imparting that power unto you right now. Real culture, real cultural knowledge is not words. It's me giving you this character right now. Take it on. Take it on. You're not being arrogant. You're not being narcissistic. You're not being selfish. You're not being that egotistical and all of that. No. If you're on a basketball court and there's 3 seconds left and the game is tied and you shoot from a three-pointer and the ball goes swoosh into the net and your team wins, you're the champion. It don't matter what you think, what somebody else think. The buzzer went off, the ball went in, and you won the game. Now, what we tend to do is shoot that shot, make that hoop, the buzzer goes off, we win the game, and then we say, no, we didn't. Let me get back in the corner. Because if I really say I won the game, then somebody's going to say I'm arrogant and I'm egotistical. This is how we get caught every time. Nobody ever going to tell you you're great. Maybe your mother or your father or your spouse. Maybe. 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 Okay. No one's going to tell you you're great. You got to know this for yourself. And we live in a society that takes greatness away, kills greatness. We live in a colonial-based society, so it kills dignity. It kills greatness. It makes you humble because there's an oppressor. There's tyranny. This is what it is. There's a madman running around. So you got to humble yourself and be quiet. And this is the habit of this culture, the habit of the society, not to push your chest up, not to lift your heads up. Not to have that attitude about yourself. Or they say you're being haughty. You're a haughty spirit. No, there is a haughtiness. There is selfishness. There is ego and arrogance and all that stupidness. There is that. But not when you made the shot. I'm sorry. Not when you made the shot. This is where we have to shift now. I shot the ball, it went in. You can't tell me nothing. The same with hip hop, and the same with the teacher of hip hop. You are a teacher of hip hop. You're interested in the facts. That's it. All this emotionalizing and this, that, and the other, there's a place for it. And you'll go there and sip the wine and emotionalize over hip hop or members of hip hop or this, that, what's going on in hip hop. And you. Sure, there's a place for that. But when you are a teacher of hip hop, you got to know your place. And your place ain't an emotional place. Yes, you have your emotions and you are emotional about your teaching. You put your emotions in the right place. I'm emotional about this teaching, okay? But I'm not emotional about gossip. I'm not emotional about ignorance. No. I get real analytical on that, real logical on that. I'm not too emotional on how our culture needs to develop and protect itself from corporate thieves. I don't need emotion with that. We need strategy with that. You know, how our culture is transferred to other generations into infinity. We don't need emotion for that. We need strategy for that. We need intellectual strategy for this. And that's what the teacher is. And that's what the apprentice is studying. The hip hop teacher is making hip hop real for the apprentice. And in return, the apprentice offers some kind of skill, some kind of support, something in exchange for that access, in exchange for that knowledge. Here, an apprentice is one who is bound by indenture to serve one's teacher for a prescribed period of time, learning the specifics of the hip-hop art, life, and trade. As an apprentice, you are expected to live hip-hop, not just perform hip-hop. You are expected to assist and serve your teacher in the further establishment and growth of the temple of hip-hop. And notice the words, look at the words. You are expected to serve. This is the colonial piece right here. This is the piece. Matter of fact, you know what? First of all, let's go ahead and get 5. We got to get 5, y'all. We got to go ahead and get 5. So we're highlighting. We're highlighting 3, 4, and 5 because that's a powerful paragraph. And I want to show you this too about releasing your mind. You're becoming the teacher now. So release your mind from this colonial indoctrination. What am I talking about? Let me read this line to you one more time. You are expected to assist and serve your teacher in the further establishment and growth of the temple of hip hop. Did you hear that? This sentence is very important. Let's break it down. First, you are expected to assist and serve. Those are taboo words in this society because serving today, service and servitude is looked at as slavery. And this is what the colonial mind, this is what colonists have done to us. That we used to live in a society that served one another, a voluntary society, a society that cooperated with one another. We live in a capitalist society, and I'm not here to bash capitalism. We're just talking truth. We live in a capitalist society where competition is the rule of the day. It is better to compete in a capitalist society for the sake of the society, not even for the sake of the capitalists. It's better for capitalism that capitalists compete with each other for goods, for supremacy, for profit, for all of this. That's the type of society colonists created. That was their interest. That's what they came here for, to get rich. They didn't come here for civilization. They didn't come here to make humanity better. They came here to get rich for themselves and have control over humanity and the resources of nature. That's colonial. That's colonialism, and we're seeing it play out too. By the way, with Russia and Ukraine, really a really good lesson is going down in front of our faces right now. If you want to know how America got started, if you want to know how England and Britain got started in Africa, and America and Africa as well, but I'm talking about English in America. If you want any imperialist concept, you're seeing it play out right now in your face. Put down all books. You don't need no book right now. Go to Twitter. Go, stay up on what is going on right now with Russia and Ukraine, and you're getting a first-hand look at what colonialism actually is and what it does, how it moves people, the racism within the colonialism. You know, this is not my lecture today, but it's part of what we're teaching here. You got to get your mind off that colonialism in order for you to be a hip hop teacher. Too many people claim to be hip hop teachers, and they speak, act, and see hip hop through a colonial lens. It's like this is their colonialism, and they put this on and say, "Now I'm teaching hip hop." You only see colonialism. You're not seeing hip hop. You don't have the mind for it. And respectfully, I'm saying this respectfully, and that's why I'm saying this is a very important point to point out. We ain't even start the reading yet. I'm only up to 5. Okay, this is important to point out. If you cannot understand real hip hop with a colonial based mind, maybe you want to write that down. You cannot understand real hip hop, cultural hip hop, with a colonial based mind, a mind of a colonist. I'm coming here, invading your space for your resources and the enslavement of your people. Boom! That is the antithesis of hip hop right there. You can't have both those minds and they understand each other. No. Although I will say that hip hop does understand the colonial mind. It's the colonial mind that doesn't understand the hip hop mind. Hip hop, as being under colonialism, understand the colonial mind, but colonialism, never being under hip hop, does not understand the hip hop mind. We have an advantage. We have someplace else to go. They don't have nowhere else to go. They're stuck in colonialism and capitalism and imperialism. That's why Russia has to do what it does. This is how all these nations got started. America doesn't even have the moral authority to stop this dude. Not even because what same thing he did, you did to Iraq. Okay, so see, I can't. Okay, we're talking about something else. So the point is that again, what are we talking about? We're breaking down this last sentence. You are expected to assist and serve your teacher. Service. The teacher is a server. The minister is a server. I remember sometimes I was going on tours worth maybe $1 million, and we had an apprentice with us. And dudes were MCs, breakers, nice with it. They come on the tour, first day of the tour. I say, yo, get the bags. The bags? I've had people walk right off the tour. Yeah, get the bags. We have 40 bags, about 10 people on tour with us. We got 60 bags. You're on bag duty. But I'm an MC. I came here to rap and learn how to MC. This is the beginning of it. This is the beginning of learning how to MC live on stage. You got to get them bags. And you sitting there scratching your head. You don't realize first, you got to humble yourself. You will not be the greatest MC until you become the lowest MC. You better hear me. You better hear me right now, okay? You're not going to be the greatest until you are the least. And what does it mean by being the least? Put everyone in front of you and then try to do better than them. I regard myself as the wackest MC ever. I say to my friends all the time, and they hear me, you know, I say this, that I say, it's not that I'm dope as an MC, it's that everybody else is whack. That's what it is. The standard is so goddamn low that it makes it seem like KRS-One is dope. No, everybody else is whack. That's what it is. So, and of course, these are not my real feelings, but this is MC talk. This is the psychology, though, that you do enter the craft with. Same thing, like you don't walk around with, it's me. But at the same time, if you don't think it's you, you ain't going nowhere. So you gotta have this balance. You gotta have this moderation thing going on real quick. So, service. If you're here to serve yourself, you don't belong in the group. The teacher first teaches straight up at the top. Can you get low like me? I carry bags. Me, KRS-One. I carry bags. I sometimes carry the bags of the whole tour because I want to exercise and I don't want to lose anything. I don't want to lose anything. A lot of times I put the equipment onto the van or transport equipment in the van or whatever myself because I don't want no hiccups. I don't want no hangups. I don't want to hear no excuses. I know I'm going to deliver me to where I got to go. These reasons. I want to keep a careful inventory, especially when we get up to international travel and you got to keep track of 40, 50 bags, 60 bags. You can't lose nothing. You enter the tour with 60 bags, you leave the tour with 60 bags. You can't lose. You can gain bags, you can't lose bags. Your number got to go up, not down. We're not losing nothing. Sometimes I take over bag control and hire an assistant. Me and this dude lifting. And we get sweaty. I love it. Before a show, lifting bags before a show. That's why I jump on the stage and it's over because I done worked that whole day. I done got myself up that whole day. I don't wait till I'm not driving, sitting all day and this, that, and the other. No, I use the stairs. You know, if there's an elevator, sure, if I got to go more than 3 stories, 4 stories, I'll take the elevator. But really, if it's like the party's just upstairs or 3rd floor, 4th floor, let's hit the stairs. Let's get that in you real quick. Take the advantage of that stair because your body's going to recover. You might feel out of wind at that particular moment if you do, but your body recovers. And that recovery is the energy you bring onto the stage. Your body, you know how the body works, right? When you're doing exercise, if you want to build muscle, you have to tear it. You have to build your muscle up by tearing it and it repairing. Tearing and repairing. And so when you tear your muscle or stretch it out and it repairs itself better. Same thing with vaccines, certain vaccinations. If the body just gets the disease, it can kill it. But if the body gets a little bit of the disease, learns it, becomes immune to it, well, that's the immunity. The body learns it and just adapts to it. It adapts to it. So now you are adapted to smallpox, chickenpox, mumps, measles, supposedly COVID-19, all of this kind of thing. So this is how the body works. This is how this goes down. So you want to invite stress, meaningful stress to the body to build it up. Of course, drink water, hit those vitamins, minerals as well, leafy green vegetables, steam your food, bake your food, broil your food as much as possible, lean back from the fried foods, same old thing. Go to the H-Law, the health section, you know what it is. But I mentioned this, come on over to service, that service is a mind state. And if you don't have that mind state to serve, you don't become great. You don't become the teacher. You don't succeed. I care about hip hop and I care about hip hoppers. So I serve you. I serve hip hop. I do this because it's my life. I don't do this because I'm promoting myself or I got something to sell. I don't even have a gospel to sell anymore. I used to be able to say, go to, and buy a copy. I can't even do that anymore, okay? You better have your gospel. But I do this because I love it. I love hip hop and hip hoppers. And I know who we are. And that's the real, I know who we are. And so I care about who we are. And so I give this service. I give the service. Those that want to be part of the service, be part of the service. It's a voluntary service. But it's a service. You have to want to do this. Same thing. You have to want to serve your teacher and look at it. And it's a thing here. Serve your teacher in the further establishment and growth of the temple of hip hop. You're not serving your teacher personally. You're serving your teacher as he or she serves the temple of hip hop. So be clear with that. Because you are going to be a teacher and you're going to have to know how to conduct yourself as the teacher. The teacher expects the apprentice to assist and serve. And you can't be squeamish about that. No, I expect you to, because I'm giving real knowledge. I'm offering real access. And you're going to grow here. You're going to grow. Let's go. The same applies to like the temple of hip hop itself. You step into the temple of hip hop. How are you serving? How are you serving the edifice, the building, the exhibit, whatever it is? How are you serving that? Or are you just coming in to take? And so you got to be clear with it. This is about character. This is about it's about your character. Right away, we deal with character right at the top. You coming in, I'm an MC. We know that. You'll get your chance to rock. You'll get your chance to rhyme. No doubt. But right now, let's get these bags. Do you care about the whole group or just yourself? Because these bags belong to all of us. Nah, I can't do that. I ain't coming for no bags, yo. We know who you're going to be in 10 years then. We know who you're going to be in 5 years. We know who you're going to be in 3 years. We know who you are. Now there's the other person who says, yo, I'm an MC, yo. This is my life. This is what I do. Okay, get the bags. How many? Where? Where should they be? What I got to do to be here? I need you to jump off the roof. Yo, I'm at the roof right now on my cell. I'm standing here. No, I was just kidding. You don't have to jump off. That's the kind of loyalty that creates cultures. And this is why many other groups, I'll say this, I'll say it controversially. This is why many groups that claim they are oppressed remain oppressed. They don't respect nothing. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to say groups. And you take a look at the activity of how certain groups treat their own leadership. Then complain when that leadership gets destroyed for lack of power, for lack of strength from their own people. We're going to read on that. We're going to read on that. That lesson didn't come yet. We're still on lesson 1. Okay, this is an introduction to the Temple of Hip Hop's apprenticeship. We're looking for service. You're expected to serve. And if you can't serve, you're missing the whole point. You're missing the whole point. That's why we start with service. And you're serving your teacher in the establishment of the temple. You're not serving no personal needs for the teacher. No, be clear with that. The teacher serves his own personal needs, the needs of his family, and so on. That's the teacher's own personal needs, and that'll be your own personal needs. But you should expect those that claim the name Temple of Hip Hop to assist and serve you in your approach to the Temple of Hip Hop, your development, your building of it. If you bought a building, for the Temple of Hip Hop and you have a congregation that says they the Temple of Hip Hop, then somebody should be in there washing them toilets. Somebody got to be in there cleaning the toilet. Somebody got to be in there cooking the food. Somebody got to be in there putting paint on the wall. Somebody got to be in there, come on, buying the chairs, getting the altar together, putting the sound system into place. No, this is a temple is not just, oh, I put my money down, I put a building up and put the Temple of Hip Hop on it, and that's called a temple. No, the Temple of Hip Hop is not a building. It's us. It's us. So when you say Temple of Hip Hop, you're talking about the relationship between us, the people, us. If you're not willing to serve, you're not an apprentice or a student. And therefore, what are you here for then? You have to ask yourself, what are you here for? Reading on, and you've highlighted number 5 as well. Reading on paragraph 6. However, if you are not really hip hop, then this apprenticeship and most of what KRS-ONE teaches is simply not for you. And there is nothing wrong or right with this. But if you are hip hop, then don't front. You must take such an apprenticeship very seriously. Your hip hop life depends upon your successful comprehension of these lessons. If this is where we get real with it. This is where we get real with it. If hip hop is your real lifestyle, then these lessons is life and death. Straight up. And if you can't take it to that level, again, you're not going to be successful. You will not be great in our culture. It has to be life or death for you. It has to be the all for you. You got to take it seriously to be called teacher, at least. Your hip hop life depends upon your successful comprehension of these lessons. And what is it that you must comprehend? You must begin to take your hip hop life more seriously than any other style of life that you may live or have, so that the reality of your hip hop life can become more real to you. It is also very important to the development of hip hop as a nation that all true hip hoppers rise above hip hop as entertainment and continue to live hip hop as their culture, as their faith. Our future selves and those of our children are indeed depending upon us today, establishing hip hop as a peace-filled and prosperous lifestyle, not just a form of music. Now, keep in mind, I want you to take a look at the spelling of this part right here. I didn't mention it when I said it, but look at the spelling. All true hip hoppers rise above hip hop as entertainment. Look at the spelling on that. Hip hop as entertainment, and continue to live hip hop. Look at the spelling on that. As their culture, as their faith. If you're not taking hip hop that seriously, you cannot be a teacher of it. And look at the levels of it, okay? Look at the levels. To take hip hop seriously makes you a citizen of the nation. You may say, listen, Chris, I'm not going through all of that. Look, I love hip hop. I like hip hop. I believe I'm more hip hop than anybody else. But I'm not gonna all this with hip hop, take it seriously, more over my whole life and all that. I'm not gonna do that, Chris. Then you're not a teacher. Period. Let's get that clear. Let's get that clear. If you're not going to go all the way, you can't say halfway that you are what all the way is. No. All the way is, this is it. I do this. I live this. I am this. This is it. I've made my decision. This is it. And the decision does not come after 1 million records sold. The decision doesn't come when the movie gets the Oscar. The decision doesn't come when you're famous and rich. No, the decision comes when nobody knows and no one is around. You don't have what you need. You have visions and hopes and dreams that did not come true yet. This is what the Temple of Hip Hop is offering right now. Right now, get serious about this. Get serious about this. because the person you're seeing saying this was you. Look at this face, okay? I don't want to embarrass you with this face, but see yourself here, because I went through pretty much what most of us on this call is going through. I was you. I used to listen to all types of dudes talk all types of stuff. Come this way, because this is the way. Go over here, because this is what it is. And I would travel down, listen to some lessons and this kind of thing. And some were good, some were this, some were that, some were opportunists, some were hustlers. You know, went through all of it. It saw it. It said, you know what? Realistically, it's all about hip hop, period. Made my decision when I was like 16. Left home. It's about hip hop. Made my decision at 2021. I had to be homeless. I had to be cold and hungry for about a year, 2 years. I thought I was going to die. Really? I mean, seriously. You know, I was insane with it. And that's how you're going to have to become insane with it. If you want what I have. I don't know any other way to put it. I live a wonderful hip hop life, and I'm not, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm being honest with what these teachings are about. Everything I'm saying to you, I'm living it. Okay, this book is not from 2,000 years ago, with all due respect to the Bible. You know, this is not a foreign knowledge, okay? This is the last 50 years. This is what we're talking about. Okay, just the last 50 years. And we codified it. That's why it's in a book, because the last 50 years is not just unique to KRS-ONE. The last 50 years that KRS-ONE experienced is the last 5,000 years that anyone who follows universal law will experience. Like I say, the basic principles of what we're teaching is universal and in every book. You can see it. No, everybody's saying the basically the same thing. But nobody's saying it to us in our language, in our culture. No one's putting our interests in their religious or spiritual or philosophical treatises or sermons. They don't have our interests in mind. And why should they? They're not us. We got to have our own interests in mind. That's why the gospel of hip hop is written. Because God speaks directly to our culture. Where is God not? We got to go to a church, a mosque, a synagogue to talk to God, to have a spiritual life? Wake up. That's old, okay? No, God is universal. Where is a universal God not? So at the omnipresent God, a presence of omni. No, God is with you right now in that room, in the room you're in right now, in the car, on your headphones. God is in your head right now as you speak. You are a God from God right now as we speak. Do you believe that? Because this is the dividing line between being a hip hop teacher and being someone who teaches hip hop. Big difference. Mad people teach hip hop, but they're not authorized or accredited to be hip hop teachers. The only way you can be a hip hop teacher is by seeing this face right here on your screen. And I don't say that in any, I'm not, trying to discredit any institution or anybody. But when it comes to hip hop, the first hip hop teacher is right here. Right here. Here we are. This is a fact. This is what we're doing right now. It's a fact. The first hip hop teacher is right here. That makes you first hip hop teachers yourself. Not just hip hop apprentices and students. You are the first teachers of hip hop because you are part of the first hip hop teaching institution, which is the Temple of Hip Hop. The first authentic, independent teaching institution from the first teacher of hip hop. That's who you're learning from. That's what you're learning in. This is your legacy. This is the heritage that you as a hip hop teacher are taking from this course and now going out into the world. When people are talking to you now and saying to you, when you finish this course and you go out in the world and say, I am a hip hop teacher. And someone else says, well, I'm a hip hop teacher. I wrote this book, that book, and I hung out with this one, and I have a picture with this one, and I did that. None of that is before me. None of it. Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm not talking about me subjectively. I'm talking about me objectively. I'm talking about me as a figure in history, in hip hop's history. None of it comes before KRS-One. None of it. None of it. Even KRS-One would say, Kool Herc is a teacher of hip hop. Africa Bambaataa, teacher of hip hop. Zulu Nation is an institute, is probably hip hop's first teaching institution. Grandmaster Flash, an inventor, teacher, taught everyone how to do the term. Teacher of hip hop. Melly Mel, teacher of hip hop. The list goes on. Okay, real teachers of our Dougie Fresh, teacher of our element, hip hop, showed us how to do it, instructed us in how to do it. None of them said they were teachers. None. 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 Kool Herc is the father of hip hop, right along with Cindy, the mother of hip hop. Cindy. Africa Bambaataa, the godfather of hip hop and the master of records. That's his cultural title. Grandmaster Flash doesn't really have a title. His title is Grandmaster. Dougie Fresh is the human beatbox, the father of beatboxing, as far as our culture is concerned. And there's others, no teachers. I call them teachers. I recognize them as teachers because I learned from them. They are teachers. But the one who took up the mantle, the one who said, we need a teacher in this culture, and I'm going to sacrifice myself to be that. That's KRS-One. I'm telling you this because you're going to have to ask yourself the same thing. You're going to have to ask yourself the same thing. There might be a lot of people around you that can teach hip hop, but have they themselves said, I am a hip hop teacher. This is it for me. I'm a hip hop teacher. This is it. No. No. And the only way you can say, I am a hip hop teacher for real, I'm serious about this. I am a hip hop teacher. I'm teaching the culture, history, art, science of hip hop. That's what I'm doing. To be serious about that, you have to be ordained by hip hop's first teacher or the first hip hop teaching institution or by hip hop's first teachers. This is our service as the Temple of Hip Hop. This is our service. You guys who are learning with me right now, when you finish this course and become official hip hop teachers with certification, you'll be able to walk into any institution with authority, with cultural authority, which they don't have. They don't have it. Every lesson they're going to teach, every book they're going to bring up has your teacher in it. It is impossible to discuss hip hop culturally without discussing KRS-One. I don't have to go through all of that. It's impossible. I'm saying that to say, take a look at the value of your teaching. Take a look at the value of who you are and are going to be. You can't learn from a great teacher and not be one yourself. That's just law and logic. You're on this call to raise your value as a hip hop teacher, even as a citizen of the culture. But as I always say to you, this particular lesson is for those that want to teach, those that are going to teach our culture and promote it, develop it, push it out to the world. That's what this is. We're trying to develop one language that we speak as hip hop's official teachers, coming from hip hop's official teacher who started the hip hop teaching methodology. Period. There are no teachers before me. Now, I give respect, like I just said, to all the names that I mentioned, and so should you. But when we get down to the facts and the history of this, there's one gospel of hip hop. That's it. Did anybody else write anything? There's One Science of Rap, written in 1995. Did anybody else write anything? Before this, I'm saying, yeah, before. Did anybody write anything? Did anybody take that stance? Did anybody? And let me also say this. There may be something out there. I'm always searching for hip hop before I decided to teach it. How was it being taught? Where was it being taught? Who was doing this? Shout out to the 5%ers, Nation of Gods and Earths. They was pushing hip hop teaching. I mean, they was pushing their own, their own philosophies, but those were hip hoppers, straight up. Straight up. I could call them teachers. In fact, poor righteous teachers, shout out the wise, intelligent, culture freedom, and the whole crew. Big up to all of you. And you talk about teachers. They actually call themselves teachers, and we should respect that. Poor righteous teachers, which is a term within their whole philosophy, but nonetheless teachers. But now, so I mention this to say that even there, all of these people are teachers. But KRS-One is hip hop's official cultural teacher. Not because I say so, well, because I did say I was the teacher. But you can say whatever you want. At the end of the day, where's the work? This is what we get into right here. The work. Where's the work? When it comes to the work, we wrote the first science of rap, the first gospel of hip hop, because I'm being specific. I'm being specific. When you're building a culture, what do you need? Art, history, science, religion. We're covering all bases. The South Bronx, and Going Way Back by Just Ice, produced by KRS-One as well, are the first two written histories of hip hop ever. The first written history of hip hop is the South Bronx. The second one is Going Way Back by Just Ice. I'm not bragging on that. I'm just telling you facts. This is what it is. First history of hip hop right there. And it's inaccurate because hip hop didn't start in the South Bronx. It started in the West Bronx. Let us take a look at Grandmaster Caz, another scholar, teacher in hip hop. And before me, Grandmaster Caz from the Cold Crush brothers, by the way. You now are taking on the same mantle. You're taking on the same mantle right now. Don't say KRS-One did the Stop the Violence movement, and so no. You can even say, if you got the consciousness. Because other people say, you wasn't there for the Stop the Violence movement. You wasn't. You didn't. But you don't understand culture. Once you adopt the culture, you adopt the heritage, which means the Stop the Violence movement is yours. It's literally yours. Like Harriet Tubman is ours as far as African Americans are concerned. I don't know Frederick Douglass. He probably wouldn't even like me if he met me, okay? But we claim Frederick Douglass as part of our heritage, as part of African American heritage. We have certain people we claim as the heritage, and we claim that their achievements as well. We claim their achievements because culturally you can. That's the rules of culture. These things are being passed on. Hereditary. These are the words. Legacy, hereditary, heritage, lineage. These are the words when you're dealing with culture. And so the same way we look back, the Christians may, or the Christians look at Jesus. Jews look at, look at Moses. I was going to say Abraham. Jews may look at Abraham or David even, from the line of David. I'm come from the seed of Abraham, this kind of thing. Abraham don't know you. Okay? Abraham, Jesus, none of the people know you. But if you claim the heritage culturally, if you're loyal to the heritage, you claim the blessing, you claim the privileges and the identity of that which is your heritage. And certain things don't have to be born heritage. Your mother, father is bloodline, kind of thing. Certain things are not about that. Certain things are not about that. Scientists will tell you in a minute. I never met Einstein, but I'm using that E equals MC squared. I never met this, but I'm a scientist. So within scientific culture, they're using and claiming ownership of the achievements of others that are part of the same heritage. That's what I'm trying to say to you right now. Approach hip hop the same way. Approach this teaching the same way. Approach this teaching the same way. I am the first teacher of hip hop, but I'm telling you that I'm the first teacher of hip hop because I declared myself that and I stayed loyal to that position. But Kool Herc and Bam and Flash and Melly Mel and Dougie and the whole host of others are legitimate hip hop cultural teachers. The Cold Crush, all of them, legitimate hip hop cultural teachers, but they did not start the profession. They did not claim teacher and then go out to write books and introduce hip hop at universities and all this other work that I did. Go to the UN, start a Stop the Violence movement, get a human education against lies. No, they didn't do that. They didn't do that work, that cultural work. But they are legitimate teachers of hip hop. Now that's the past. Go now to the future. Okay, so you didn't do the Stop the Violence movement. But when you become a teacher of hip hop, you did. You did. You will say now, we did the Stop the Violence movement in 1989. Let me even show it to you this way. The Stop the Violence movement is the idea of a woman named Ann Carly. Okay, she was the A&R for Jive Records. She came to me and said, well, first of all, she went to Nelson George, who was a writer for Billboard magazine at the time, and an R&B writer at that for Billboard magazine. But he was hip hop in his heart, knew all about the culture, and lived with us. Nelson George. So she goes to him, and I think it was him even that said with her, I forgot how the story goes, but they somehow say, we got to go to KRS-ONE. He wrote the record, Stop the Violence, and it was already becoming sort of a chant, really, within the community, within the hip-hop community, and just basically in the hood itself. The song was becoming a chant. She then grabbed me and said, would you be down with this? I said, yes, I will be down. And I said two stipulations. I said, yes, I'm always down with some Stop the Violence, but on the record side, I have to have D-Nice produce the record, and Miss Melody got to be on the record too, because the record was only going to be major stars on the record. And you notice the only two that were not major stars at the time on the record was D-Nice and Miss Melody. Now they look like major stars on the record at the time. But at the time, Miss Melody didn't even have a record out. Okay, she didn't even have an album out, nothing. And D-Nice was only part of Boogie Down Productions, BDP crew, back in the day. That's what it was. So I was putting them on as well back then. I mentioned all of this to say to you that the Stop the Violence movement is not my creation. But now, after the work has been done, and me championing it, and we did all types of conferences, all types of, everything. We went to cities, we did everything with the Stop the Violence, and probably need to bring it back up based on what's going on today. But we did all of this over a 20-year period, all in the hood with it. So after a while, the heritage of the Stop the Violence movement falls on KRS-ONE. I did not invent the Stop the Violence movement. I wasn't even the first member of the Stop the Violence movement. Ann Carly and Nelson George was. I'm more of a third member. And on top of that, what became the Stop the Violence movement, meaning the videos, the songs, the money donated, none of that's me. None of that. I take credit. $600,000 was raised and given to the National Urban League. Yes. I will say I gave $600,000 to the National Urban League. Yes, I will say that. But look at the language. I'm speaking culturally. I'm taking a heritage because it's my heritage. So I'm using a my, I, me, or us, our, we, when we talk about our culture. So when you talk about me, KRS, being the teacher, I'm imparting to you my entire heritage, which, by the way, is not my heritage, it's our heritage. I'm serving our culture. If I'm not serving our culture, then it's about me. It's a me, my, and I situation. And so you ain't serving the culture in that sense. We, us, and our is service of the culture. And you see the distinction between the two. When I mentioned we, us, when I mentioned I and me before, this is no, you have all the right to say I and me and my in your culture. You have all the right to take individual responsibility and privilege for anything that's in your culture. Anything. Whether you invented it, created it, didn't invent it, didn't create it, you take responsibility for that. Or you can take responsibility for that. So remember that. And remember this style of teaching. This is not teaching a science, so to speak, or teaching history. This is culture first. Culture. Okay? And when you teach culture, that's about imparting culture, really a soul, a spirit, a character is imparted onto you. You are ordained to teach a culture. And that's a lineage. It has to be based on fact, evidence, data. Who's the first teacher? This dude right here. Where does he get his authority to say he's the first teacher? Oh, from these dudes right here. Where were they even? Who are they? And break this all the way down until it cannot be broken down no more. And that's called a foundation. Your teaching is based on firm foundation. Firm foundation. We did the work. And the work is what we're teaching. So when you become a hip hop teacher, what are you teaching? The work. And if you're teaching the work, you have all the right to say, I did this work. You can even say, realistically, I'm doing this work. I continue this work. This work is my work. Now, these dudes were before me and they did the work. They prepared the work for me, who's now doing the work. We all share in this work, the development of hip hop as a divinely inspired culture of peace and prosperity. We're all sharing in this work. That means we all share in the victories, the achievements, and the failures and setbacks. We all share that. That's culture. That's culture. Not out your mouth. Yeah, we a culture. And we just doing anything anybody else doing. No principles. No borders around our thing. No nothing. We a culture. No, how are you a culture? What's the character and conduct of your culture? What's the principles that define that conduct? And where did they come from? This is culture. Let's read forward. And keep in mind, too, I should have said this at the very beginning, that this is a two-part lecture, which is why I'm doing it in this way. This is a two-part. This is part one, the teacher. I'm going to read half of this, and then we come back on it again next week to finish up the teacher. But we're going to linger on the teacher for a little bit because this is one of the most important overstandings in the gospel of hip hop for you to overstand. You got to get this because we're not average teachers. We're not average. We're not teaching English or science or math. We're not teaching social studies or history. We're not teaching, like that. We're teaching our culture, and we're the first teachers of it. You guys are the apostles. you're the one who now has to take the message and spread it to the world and be consistent with each other. Look at this. Look at this. So I just say, this is a part one, and we'll finish up next week because we're lingering on the teacher. Remember, these lessons are for you. So let me hit 6 again and just keep going. However, if you are not really hip-hop, then this apprenticeship and most of what KRS-ONE teaches is simply not for you. And there is nothing wrong or right with this. But if you are hip-hop, then don't front. You must take such an apprenticeship very seriously. I'm reading this whole part again. You must take such an apprenticeship very seriously. Your hip-hop life depends upon your successful comprehension of these lessons. And what is it that you must comprehend? You must begin to take your hip-hop life more seriously than any other style of life that you may live or have lived, so that the reality of your hip-hop life can become more real to you. It is also very important to the development of hip-hop as a nation that all true hip-hoppers rise above hip-hop, lowercase, as entertainment and continue to live hip-hop, uppercase, as their culture, as their faith. Our future selves and those of our children are indeed depending upon us today, establishing hip-hop as a peace-filled and prosperous lifestyle, not just a form of music. Leave the criticisms to the ignorant. God shall answer all of their questions with the events of their own lives. I've seen that too. As for real teaching, wisdom is gained through great hardship. Let me say it again. As for real teaching, wisdom is gained through great hardship, disappointment, and loss. But those who have successfully survived the hardships and disappointments can advise others on how to achieve greatness without going through the exact same pain. This is what makes knowledge and wisdom. This is what makes knowledge, wisdom, and understanding so valuable. This is the value here. This is what makes knowledge, wisdom, and understanding so valuable, more valuable than all of the world's riches. Knowledge is a privilege. Wisdom is a privilege. Please do not take this apprenticeship for granted. Many people miss out on exactly what they need for the achievement of their own purpose because of their own doubt or fear or stubbornness or suspicion. When proven wisdom is in your presence, do not waste your time. Do not waste your own time debating and doubting it. Again, if you want to avoid unnecessary suffering living hip-hop, you must direct your whole heart and mind to the comprehension of what is taught here. You must decide right now to trust in the expertise and wisdom of your teacher, not for the aggrandizement of the teacher, but for the upliftment of yourself. Be clear as to why you have become a hip-hop apprentice. The focus of any hip-hop teacher is to make the hip-hop lifestyle real and productive for the apprentice. Let's go ahead and highlight that. That's the highlight. Let's go ahead and highlight the whole paragraph of 10. Paragraph 10. Let me hit you with it. Read you with this right now, because this is clear. Be clear. Be clear as to why you have become a hip-hop apprentice. The focus of any hip-hop teacher is to make the hip-hop lifestyle real and productive for the apprentice. That's it. That's really it. Such an apprenticeship has little to do with one's own desire to be an MC, DJ, or b-boy. The purpose of any true hip-hop apprenticeship is to transmit to the apprentice the essential ingredients of hip-hop's evolving culture. Evolving culture, growing culture. Let me hit you with that one more time. The purpose of any true hip-hop apprenticeship is to transmit, that's that word, transmit to the apprentice the essential ingredients of hip-hop's evolving culture. Culture, not necessarily knowledge about the culture, is the ultimate aim of any worthwhile hip-hop apprenticeship. That's the truth. Culture, not knowledge about the culture. And with all due respect, Tupac's lyrics and its effect on society, these other things, misogyny in hip-hop, the over commercialization, all of these are an outsider critiquing our culture. That's not knowledge. That's not education. That's somebody critiquing. You ain't the culture yourself. You're looking at it. Even if you say, I am hip hop, that's why I'm speaking like this. If you are hip hop, you would not speak like that. If it's really you that you're speaking about, then you'll speak like that. You'll say I and me and my and our, us and we when you're talking about hip hop. You wouldn't say they, and their and them and why they do that and why they like that. You say why we like this and why we doing this and why we, okay? This is a point. It's a psychological upgrade here, okay? And this is the last part. Culture, not necessarily knowledge about the culture. This is the key. This is the key. Yes, we want knowledge about the culture. That's what all this is about. But when you are a hip hop teacher, it's the culture itself that you have to transmit to your apprentice. That's a hands-on. That's a hands-on. That's somebody looking at your character and looking at how you handle challenges and looking at how you handle victory and looking at how you deal with your family and friends and how you're teaching with everything when you're teaching culture. You're teaching with everything. Let's read on. And that's, I just want to make that clear. This is what where am I? Oh, culture, not necessarily knowledge about the culture, is the ultimate aim of any worthwhile hip-hop apprenticeship. And that's how you judge too. How you judge an apprenticeship. That's how you judge the knowledge too. When you see people with master courses and master classes, and I suggest you take them anyway. I'm not critiquing anybody's teaching of hip hop. That's not the point here. But you are talking to the original source here, and I'm not biting my tongue. So keep that in mind. Okay, keep that in mind. This is how you critique the education of hip hop, though. Are you talking about the culture, or are you the culture? Now, I want to hear about the culture. Come on, give me something about the culture. But that's objective, and that's secondary to those of us that are the culture. Now, when you got a teacher coming up to you saying, yo, I am the culture, and I'm going to teach you us. Okay, that's how that teacher would talk. And then that teacher breaks down and says, you know what? First, let me show you my credentials to teach. Here's my picture with KRS-ONE. I took the course. Here's the gospel of hip hop, the only gospel ever written. In it is the creation of the culture in literal terms, not talk, not dream, not hype, not I want to be and I'm dab. No, literal. Here's the strategy written out. Here you go. Now I'm getting ready to teach you. I got a host of other books too. Let's take a look at this, all written by hip hoppers. I don't need to go outside my culture unless we're talking about something broader than the culture, like religion or something else. Okay, then I'll go outside my culture. But as a hip hop teacher, if we just discussing hip hop, I don't need to go nowhere but to hip hop. I don't need to go nowhere but to right here. I'm consulting hip hop's authors. I'm consulting hip hop scholars. I'm consulting the gospel of hip hop. I'm consulting the science of rap. I'm consulting those. That's what I'm consulting, because I am hip hop. This is my culture, and I'm proud to bring up other authors and others and bring light to their books and bring light to their DVDs. I just saw a nice movie last night on Tubi. What was the name of this movie? Ghost.
Oh, Ghost Rider.
Ghost Riding the Whip.
Right, Ghost Rider.
Oh, go see that movie. Okay, it's on Tubi. I was watching Tubi last night, and this movie called Ghost Ride the Whip, or Ghost Riding the Whip, something like that. I should have look it up. You'll get the right title. Ghost Riding the Whip or Ghost Ride the Whip. One of those titles. But it was the history of Oakland hip hop. I love this. I was like, word, because I always say that the true history of hip hop is not written. The true history of hip hop will be written 100 years from now. Maybe even if we're lucky, over the next 20 years, we might be able to get the real history of hip hop written in another 20 years, another 10 years, because everybody that participated in this culture in some meaningful way has to tell their story. And that's the only way we really gonna have the real history of hip hop, is when everybody tells their story. The history of hip hop is not the Bronx. That's not the history of, that's the beginning of our history. And even that's debatable, but we agree that the beginning of hip hop's history is the Bronx. But hip hop's history is far beyond. Come on, you got to include the West Coast, South. These are major movements that shaped the culture and made it what it's now is, what it is now interpreted as, even from people like me, okay, who interprets culture and interprets our hip hop culture. I have to say, man, drill and trap and hyphy and other things like health as an element of hip hop, or skateboarding and BMX bike ride. These are all hip hop as well. And you got to take a look at that. We're preaching 9 core elements to hip hop. But again, that's a core knowledge. That's a foundational teaching principle that keeps us empowered, actually. Be honest, it keeps us empowered and keeps us organized. But as teachers, you got to know. Don't get stuck in no Bronx.
Right. Ghost Ride the Whip, 2008 documentary. Hyphy was the word they created. Hyphy.
Yeah, the hyphy movement. Shout out to Oakland.
Ghost Ride the Whip.
You shout out to Oakland. Ghost Ride the Whip. No, Ghost Ride the Whip. Ghost Ride the Whip. Dudes jumping out their car and walking alongside of it. Hip hop is crazy, okay? Like absolute insanity. But this is what they doing. This could be called an element of hip hop. You keep playing games. Go watch this. It's called Ghost Riding the Whip. It's a whole deal about Oakland. First of all, it's really the history of Oakland hip hop. And they talk about Mac Dre. They talk about the hyphy movement. They talk about the dances. Yeah, the dances he created. As a matter of fact, right? We should have had some of them hyphy dances in there in our video. But all of this stuff. And shout out to Mac Dre. I mean, just on another level. He's passed. He was killed in what was it? 2014. In 2014. He was killed. The documentary is 2018, right?
No, the one that was 2008.
2000. Oh, he was still alive when the documentary was out there. Well, he was in it. Right, he did it. No, but I'm saying he got to see it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but he was later killed 4 years later, I guess.
Yeah, 2008 to 2014. 6 years.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? They probably redid the video. Who knows? but somehow they mention his death in the film, so he's in the film, so they must have shot this, right? And then he was killed, and then they put it out. But shout out to Mac Dre, huge figure.
2004. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Correction. 2004, Mac Dre passes. 2004. So again,
2008 was the documentary.
The documentary dropped in 2008.
Correct.
And he was killed in
2004. Yep. In Kansas City, Missouri,
right
after a show.
Wow,
yeah.
Kansas City, Missouri, after a show.
Not 14, it was 4. I messed that number up.
So shout out to Mac Dre. But I mentioned that to say that caught that last night, Ghost Ride the Whip. And I looked at hip hop. They're in the movie claiming hip hop. See, and this is what's most important. You don't just say this is hip hop unless the people who are doing it or expressing this expression say themselves that they are hip hop. This is the key. This is the key. Because the same thing with the teacher. There were many teachers of hip hop, but did you say you was? And that's why we can't say, oh, you a teacher of hip hop, and you never said you was a teacher of hip hop, and not just say it with your mouth, but you never did it. You never went out to teach hip hop, and never declared that you was hip hop, or a teacher for hip hop. Really, right? Or declared that you was even hip hop, or declared that you was a teacher for hip hop. And the same thing comes around here. There are many movements that are taking from hip hop and saying, oh, we this and we that. But until the movement itself says that it is hip hop, it is an offshoot of hip hop, then you can't just say, oh, that's hip hop. No, that's what it says it is. Now, they could be biting our style, they could be sampling, they could be doing this kind of thing, but you ain't hip hop until you say that you are hip hop. And when you say that you're hip hop, then you join the lineage. And you say, this is a section of hip hop. And that's why I love the film so much. It was scholarly done. It was very well done. Very well done. Film where they said, we're talking about Oakland hip hop right now. So they go through the Black Panthers. They go through the 60s civil rights struggle. They talk about how we got to where we got to, okay? This was not the Bronx and broken glass everywhere. That's the Bronx story, broken down buildings, heroin and all that type of stuff. No, the Oakland, California had some other thing going on about Southerners coming up, going to the West Coast to try to find opportunity, how they got started and took it into the 50s, 60s, took it into Black Power, took it into the hippie movement, took it into how Oakland became Oakland, how Berkeley became Berkeley, and what went on there. That was like at least the first 10 minutes of a hip hop film, by the way, which I thought was really good. And then on top of that, went into then Oakland hip hop and brought up some really interesting points. I took notes about their origins and who their first MCs and B-boys and graph writers and who they were. They didn't speak much on graph, on Oakland graph. It was more or less on the DJing and MCing part. But that was actually an excellent presentation for DJs and MCs. They did their thing. And Mac Dre was sort of at the center of that with the hyphy movement that they had going on there. And it was really a good documentary. Why do I mention it? Because as a hip hop teacher, number one, you cannot say this one is a hip hop teacher unless they say it. And in the movie, a couple of people said, we are hip hop, hyphy movement. So, and I've had them say, I've heard this before. I've been coming to Oakland for years, okay? But in the documentary, see, it doesn't matter what people saying in my ear, okay? In the documentary, which is now a literature, this is now something to refer to. In the documentary, they said, we are hip hop. We are the Oakland version of hip hop. We are hip hop. Oh, and then one of the brothers actually, somebody in the film actually goes as far as to say, just like hip hop, said it is a culture. It is not so much, I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, but he said, just like hip hop said when in its beginning, it's a culture, not just some dude rapping. Same thing with hyphy. This is a whole culture. It's how we live out here. It's how we get down out here. But this is hip hop, and this is how we doing it. And of course, Mac Dre had all types of his songs, his raps, his dances. He was covering all four elements right there. So it's just interesting when you are a hip hop teacher. First of all, where you got to get your knowledge from. Everybody got to talk. First of all, you got to be up on it. You got to be up on it. You got to watch these DVDs. You got to read these books. You got to, we, us, and our culture. Not just read it objectively and say, oh, now I know, but how can I push this movement forward now? How can I include the leaders of this movement into my socio-political discussion now? Let's bring power and honor and dignity to our culture and what we are doing. Let's read on. So right after paragraph 10, we read paragraph 11. T.S. Eliot in his 1949 book. Now, T.S. Eliot is a famous writer. You might want to read up on some of his other stuff as well. I just happen to pull out this one book. I got about 4 T.S. Eliot books, different subjects. T.S. Eliot in his 1949 book, Notes Toward the Definition of Culture. Now, keep in mind, just so you know, in 2009, this book was published, and it was finished in around 2007. It was finished. And this part of the book, the more you get to the end of the book, the closer you come up to 2007. Now, before 2007, going back 2006, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, into the 90s, hip-hop was not a culture yet. People were still looking at hip-hop as a music genre and debating people like me, saying, what do you mean hip-hop is a culture? Or you are hip-hop. And this is why, so keep in mind, when this is being written, I already know we're dealing with truth, and you're gonna figure this out. And this is the job of the teacher, not to be arrogant, but to be patient. But to be patient. You have the truth. You know the truth. But to teach the truth to those that don't have the truth, you're gonna have to be patient. Go back to the divine performance. You're gonna have to be patient with your people, too, by the way. You're going to have to be patient. This is Notes Toward the Definition of Culture. This is why it was here. T.S. Eliot writes, quote, in more civilized communities of specialized activities, in which not all the sons would follow the occupation of their father, the apprentice, ideally at least, did not merely serve his master and did not merely learn from him, as one would learn at a technical school. He became assimilated into a way of life which went with that particular trade or craft. And perhaps the lost secret of the craft is this, that not merely a skill, but an entire way of life was transmitted. Such a style of learning is more about becoming than knowing. And at the beginning of such an apprenticeship, trust is an absolute must, end quote. That's T.S. Eliot. The reason that's so important in the gospel, you don't have to highlight it, but what's so important in the gospel is 2 things, and I want to point this out. One is that you see that, first of all, there's an entire way of life. An apprenticeship is not the same as being a student. A student is learning by rote, by reading, memorizing, regurgitating. Student, you're being told something. But an apprenticeship is becoming something. And students can be apprentices. And I guess apprentices can be students as well. But the difference is that an apprentice is becoming something. Something's being given to you. You're being imparted something. So being imparted, you're receiving the culture, not just the mechanics or the techniques of the culture. You're receiving the culture itself, the character. The other part to this, before I go forward, is that I want to, this part here, it says the sons follow they wouldn't follow the occupation of their father. The apprentice, ideally at least, did not merely serve his master. That word right there, most people cringe when they hear serving a master. I ain't no slave. And that's what I want to point out again, like what I was pointing out before. If we cannot serve each other, we don't have no culture. This is simple. This is simple and plain. If the teacher cannot serve the student or the apprentice, we have no culture. If the student apprentice cannot serve the teacher, we have no culture. If student apprentice teacher cannot serve as an institution, serve the community of the institution, we have no culture. Service. This is what makes culture. Cooperation, not competition. Competition is the capitalist society. Cooperation is culture. We have to cooperate with one another or the culture collapses. Reading on to 12. Oh, wait a minute. And when I say this, serve his master. Meaning that there's certain things, I'll say this as well, not just get your mind out of serve some master, but also enjoy serving a master. See, we don't have many masters around. The word master has been denigrated a lot, along with a lot of other words. We hear master and we think some criminal, really, a psychopath. But a master is somebody who is basically is an expert at whatever they're doing. That's the real meaning of master. Completed, perfected, expert. That's a master. When you are serving a master, you becoming one yourself. You're learning the techniques of an expert. This is the difference. And this is what I say to you. Don't gather apprentices around yourself until you're a master. Don't seek to teach until you have mastered your teaching, perfected it, completed it. Expert at it. Know every aspect of your teaching, whatever it is you're teaching, whatever section, however it is. Don't gather around apprentices, and especially if you are a teacher of hip hop. Study first and study for years until you gather, before you gather apprentice. Because you cheat the apprentice when you're not a master. You cheat the apprentice. You're claiming the privileges and the authority of the master, but then you're not imparting mastership, or perfection. You're not providing it. They're not seeing it. They can't mimic it. They can't learn it. They're not getting it. So this is very important, this part about serving a master. Serve true masters. Not fake master. People tell I'm a master because I say I am. You know, people run around, I'm great. Why? Because I say I am. You know, there's a place for that, I guess. But when you're really trying to put your trust onto a teacher, when you're really now trying to say, look, I'm going to submit myself to an institution to become better, to become a better version of me. You got to trust the person teaching, and you got to trust the institution. And they got to trust you, that you're not going to take the knowledge and destroy it, that you're not going to take the knowledge and be, you run out and kill somebody. And they say, well, he was part of the Temple of Hip Hop. What? You'll get disowned quickly. So at the end of the day, and that's not necessarily true, you can always come and get counseling here for those types of deeds. But no, my point is that we ain't running around as criminals. And so you can't claim that, I'm gonna run around robbing banks and stuff, or doing all types of stupidness, and then say, but I'm also Temple of Hip Hop. No. That's why these things are written down, so that we're all clear. as to what the character is, what the principle is. You can't be racist and be here. You can't be sexist and be here. You can't be on some elitist classism and be here. It's impossible. You're not a member of the Temple of Hip Hop. You can have the gospel, you can read the book, but your character don't match. And that's what we're imparting here. Culture, character, heredity, lineage, legacy, these things. That's what we're imparting here. Let's continue. Paragraph 12. It is unnecessarily difficult to learn anything without an unshakable trust and respect for your teacher. Unnecessarily difficult. Without an unshakable trust and respect for your teacher. Yes, everyone and everything should be respectfully questioned, including your teacher. No one is above question, and a good teacher invites all questions. However, if you are truly serious about your own development, at some point you must get past debating, questioning, and doubting, and simply trust your teacher. Actually, such a trust has little to do with the personal character of one's teacher, although personal character is very important. Here, it is more important that you put your trust not just in your teacher, but more into your God, or into whomever referred you to your teacher. Like whoever told you, yo, he's cool. Yo, you should go check him out or her out. You should go, put your trust in them. If the teacher lets you down, they let you down. I say go higher and say, put your trust in God. If the teacher lets you down, then it's God. Put it on God, okay? Or on your God, your divine nature. Trust in your divine nature. Would your divine nature lead you to a fraud? Matter of fact, let's just read on. No one is above question, and a good teacher invites all questions. However, if you are truly serious about your own development, at some point, you must get past debating, questioning, and doubting, and simply trust your teacher. Actually, such a trust has little to do with the personal character of one's teacher, although personal character is very important. Here, it is more important that you put your trust not just in your teacher, but more into your God, or into whomever referred you to your teacher. You must also decide if you are truly prepared to submit yourself to the guidance of those who have successfully gone on before you. If the activities of the world have robbed you of your ability to trust your teacher and her teachings, then trust your God. For if you truly trust your God, then it will be easier to trust your teacher. In fact, your trust for your teacher should come from your trust in your God. And notice the spelling on God, your divine nature. Would your God put you in front of a fraud? Or will your God protect you from such experiences? Maybe it is time to take your own God more seriously. Disobedience, stubbornness, suspicion, criticism, fear, doubt, and or arrogance toward your teacher only hinders your learning. We must not unnecessarily criticize each other. We must question and always acknowledge our collective development as a young nation. As hip-hoppers, we must lift each other up. Such is our political strength. We have no reason to convince anyone about the truth of our faith. It is our faith. And if our faith is real, then our faith shall produce real results in our real lives. Why try to convince someone of the obvious? If they don't want to see, why force them? Your faith and its results are for you, not for them. However, it is truly difficult for those with real love in their hearts to watch people unknowingly suffer and or destroy themselves. It is equally difficult for me to watch hip-hop attempt to destroy itself. And this is during the time where, we wasn't so culturally aware like today. This is when hip-hop was just wilding out. I mean, just stupid. No, nothing. We killing, robbing, stealing, hip-hop police, Tupac's dead, Biggie dead. These were shocks to our community when they first happened. Now let's underline this part here. The other half of 17. You're going to highlight this part right here. And in fact, you're going to highlight the last two sentences of 17 and highlight the whole of 18. You got it? The last two sentences of 17 and going into 18. Here's what you're highlighting from 17. But we live by the platinum rule, which is do unto others as they would do unto themselves. In other words, treat people the way in which they treat themselves. The golden rule is do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. Treat others how you want to be treated. That's the golden rule laid down by Yeshua the Christ. But hip hop has walked that path. And when you actually walk the path of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, you find that it doesn't work. It doesn't work in this day and age in multicultural, multi-ethnic societies, multi-religious societies as well, multi-racial societies as well. When Yeshua said that, he was part of a community where everybody knew everybody. They all followed the same laws, spoke the same language, and praised the same God. So treat me the way you want to be treated. That worked for that community. Years later, we live now in a multi-everything that no longer works. When you walk the path of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, you find it does not work. You cannot treat people the way you want to be treated. That's where the argument starts. That's where the argument starts. So I'm vegetarian. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. You got to be a vegetarian too. Or I don't want to be robbed, so I'm not going to rob you. That's a real crude way. You could just not rob. But the golden rule is I'm not going to rob you because I don't want to be robbed. Or I'm not going to lie to you because I don't want to be lied to. That karma, this kind of thing. These are old. They work. They are still standards. But hip hop is a new spiritual way. And you got to know that. You got to know that. We're not downing anybody's religion, but we walk the path. This is the difference. We're not just criticizing. We walked it. We walked it. We lived it. And so now that we have lived, do unto others as you would have them done unto you, we know that the real statement, which do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, may be a mistranslation. Because when you walk the path, you realize that it is really the platinum rule, which is why we call it gold, platinum, just a play on words. Platinum rule, do unto others as they would do unto themselves. Treat people the way they want to be treated. Just because I'm vegetarian doesn't mean you should be. I want to be treated like a vegetarian. So do unto others. So I'm gonna feed you vegetarian food because I want to be treated like a vegetarian. Now, of course, that's not what that means. That's not the crux of what do unto others as you would have done unto yourself means. It really means, look, the same pain you don't want to feel for yourself, don't cause somebody else to feel the pain. Why would you treat somebody else different from how you want to be treated? Now, that's just logic and common sense. But there's a platinum rule to that, which says, no, wait a minute. This dude wants to be treated like, this woman wants to be treated, this person wants to be treated like a crackhead. They want it. Okay, this is it. I'm not judging none of that. Okay, you a crackhead. You're coming up to me for $10. Do unto others as they would do unto. Here's the $10. Some people might find that controversial and say, Chris, what are you talking about? This is crazy. What do you mean? Do unto others as they would do unto themselves. Let me hit you with it again. Treat people the way they want to be treated, not how you want to treat them. Do we not understand that? Well, that's hip hop's rule. Treat people the way they want to be treated. Not how you want to be treated. Treat people the way they want to be treated. And this is the platinum rule. We've walked that too, and it works. It works. That's the problem today. People don't want to treat people the way the people themselves want to treat themselves. Somebody says, look, I'm this way. I'm a way. This is the way I am, whatever way humans are. Say, look, I'm this way. I have these preferences. So I come to you and I say, I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated. Do unto others as you would do unto yourself. I don't have those preferences. So if I'm just going to treat you the way I want to be, I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated. Even if it's right, I'm going to be kind to you because I want to be treated kindly. I'm going to show you love because I'm not going to hate because I don't want to hate. Even if that's the case, you're still judging the other person. You're still and denying the other person the right to be themselves. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. No, it's not about you. Do unto others as they would do unto themselves. Oh, right. It ain't about me. It's about you. I'm going to treat you the way you want to be treated. And that's controversial. Here comes somebody acting like a whore. That's how you want to be treated. I'm going to treat you just like that. I'm not going to treat you the way I would treat myself because obviously you don't want to be treated like that. I'm going to treat you the way you want to be treated. You a gangster, right? So let's get down with this gangster. I'm going to treat you the way you want to be treated. You a philosopher prophet, right? You a sage, right? I'm going to treat you the way you want to be treated. Not how I want to be treated. And notice it in a communal sense. If we all did it to each other, then you will treat me the way I want to be treated. I will treat you the way you want to be treated. How is that not social justice? That's social justice or social balance. That's hip hop. That's the hip hop way. Nobody else said this. Nobody else came up with this. Nobody else is thinking like this. This is hip hop. This is us. This is how we thinking. This is now part of your heritage. And don't say KRS-ONE said this. Say I said this, meaning yourself or we. So highlight the end of 17. But we live by the platinum rule, which is do unto others as they would do unto themselves. In other words, treat people the way in which they treat themselves. Now highlight all of 18. With no judgment or condemnation, let us allow people the freedom to be whatever they feel themselves to be, even if their being seeks self-destruction. You gotta make sure you're getting this whole thing right here because this is solving a lot of problems right now. This is solving a lot of problems. Why can't we just let people be who they want to be? Right? Why is that such a problem? Like, why we gotta always be saying, no, you can't be this. I don't like you for that. You did that. Nope, that don't work for culture. That don't build civilizations. Here's what builds civilizations. With no judgment or condemnation, let us allow people the freedom to be whatever they feel themselves to be, even if their being seeks self-destruction, their own self-destruction. You can always make an effort to help those in need, but always remember that everyone is where they are in life by their own choices in life. The world is the way it is for a reason. Trying to save the world and everyone in it reveals a peculiar kind of arrogance on the Savior's part. Again, wisdom is a privilege, but most people do not really respect wisdom. At very young stages in life, they think they know. Such an attitude leads to suffering, and I've seen it. I've seen it. I tried to and highlight that whole thing. I've seen it. When I was writing the gospel of hip hop, when I was getting these notes together and putting things together, some of the most profound things were said. People had the answers, everything. I put them all in the book. I wrote it, put it all down in the book, but they didn't follow it. They got the out their mouth, yo, daba, daba, daba. But they themselves did not go there. I'm looking back on it now, and I'm saying, wow, here I am, concluding my 50s now. I'll be 57 in August 20th. Yes! At the end of the day, I'm looking back. I'm looking back on this. I'm saying, yo, dudes I grew up with, philosopher types. They thought they had the way. All of us do. We all think we got the way. But when the smoke clears, only one or two of us are going to really have the way. And we don't know. You don't know when you're there. You don't know. You got to put your faith down. You got to put trust down. Some put their trust in Islam. Some put their trust in Christianity. Hip-hoppers, was coming here telling me, yo, man, you got to get with Jesus in hip-hop. And they preached it. Some people said, no, Allah. You got to get with Allah in hip-hop. Others were Jews. Lean more toward Hebrew Israelite or Jews in particular, or, and there's some Jewish hip-hoppers right now in hip-hop. Right now. That adopted the Jewish faith. My name comes from the Hare Krishnas. KRS, Krishna. A name given to me by shelter security guards because I was studying with the Hare Krishnas. And I really like their stuff. The Hare Krishnas is great. Hinduism is a wonderful teaching. I wasn't pushing it. I was pushing science of mind and hip hop as a culture and, consciousness raising, metaphysics is what I was pushing. Others, and of course philosophy, others had other things. And then we all knew we were right. This is where we need to be going. This is what we need to be doing. This is what. But then when the smoke cleared, and keep in mind, some of us said, yo, forget all this religion. It's about this money. It's about this money. If you ain't got no money, you can't even get to the church. Okay, we need this money. And others like me were talking about, no, we need respect. And in a lot of ways, we both were ridiculous. We were young kids. But at the end, the smoke cleared. I'm still standing. Straight up, I'm not bragging, I'm not saying nothing. I'm not saying nothing. All I'm saying is what I'm teaching you right here. Okay, this right here. There's nothing above this. Not for us, not for hip hoppers. Nah, there's nothing. The smoke cleared. And when the smoke cleared, when I trusted my teacher, when the smoke cleared, I was on top. I didn't try to be, there wasn't no competition. It was cooperation. I cooperated with hip hop, which was my teacher. Hip hop itself taught me, guided me, brought me all over the place, okay? I submitted to my teacher. My teacher brought me up. Boom. Made me who I am. Others chose other teachers, which is not wrong. Like I said to you, Hare Krishnas for me, metaphysics, esoteric Christianity and all that. That's me. But no, 94, I gained enlightenment. I said, I'm none of this. I'm hip hop. And that's it. I'm not Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, none of that. I walk these paths. I'm saved. Yes, I am. I went right to the church and got saved. That's right, y'all. But then I realized to myself, this is all ritual. This is all cultural. Where's our culture? Where's our ritual? When does God come and ordain us from God? not through somebody else's something that something is something. No. When do we get that direct blessing? You're getting it right now. It's your consciousness that has to tune in. You got to take this seriously. That's how you tune in. Take it seriously. Take it seriously. And I mean that. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Like the channel on a TV. When you're tuned into a channel, it's because you're interested. And you take it seriously. And you're watching this and you're like, yo, I'm watching this. When you're disinterested in that channel and you're sick of these people, you click and you go to the channel. Same thing with life. Life is levels to it, channels, frequencies to this. And what frequency you are on is going to determine what you see and what you experience. So what frequency are you on? What frequency are you really on? Doubt frequency, some kind of suspicion and doubt and all of that is what, if that's the frequency you're on, then that's what you'll see. But if you change the channel, click, because of interest and seriousness, I'm looking for this. Now you click in the channel, click, 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 and what? Boop! Temple of Hip Hop. You've landed on the channel, channel T. You've landed. And now you've landed with the Temple of Hip Hop. What do you get? You get your heritage. You get your culture. You get empowerment, real cultural empowerment, because you're talking to the architect of the culture. I, with others, did the work to establish the culture. Now, I, with others, you, meaning you, are doing the work to establish the culture. If you're not doing the work, then you're not doing the work. In fact, it's sort of an embarrassment on yourself, because if you're listening to KRS-ONE but not doing the work, we can see what that is right there. And this goes into that. The seriousness, that's what puts you that's what puts you in the frequency. How serious are you? How serious are you? Let's read on. We've just highlighted the end of 17 and going into 18. The last two paragraphs of 17 and all of 18. 19. Every philosopher knows that the purpose of knowledge is to relieve human suffering. Yet those who know rarely share that which they know, either because of fear of their own loss of power over the ignorant, or of the consequences of speaking truth. This is it. Now remember, this is coming up on the end of this particular lesson. We're getting ready to go into lesson 2, but we didn't get there yet. With this is the last paragraph of lesson 1. Okay, this was the apprenticeship of the temple, and this is really where I should stop. But that's what this is. This first lesson that we just went through with the teacher has to do with, if you're just joining the Temple of Hip Hop, if you want to become a serious apprentice of the Temple of Hip Hop, this is the conduct and the character that you enter the temple with. You can't be suspicious about your teacher or what you're learning. If you're not into it, just don't be into it then. But if you are into it, bring your whole heart and your whole mind here, because it don't work with half-half. Half-half don't work. You got to bring your whole head here, and bring your whole heart here, and probably even bring your whole body here. Like I mentioned before, go get the bags. Go get the bags. I know you're an MC, but me, even as the teacher, I've mastered all aspects of the tour, including getting the bags, washing clothes while you're on tour. Okay, I've washed clothes, Simone. We've all went to the laundry. This is also part of MCing. You don't just get on stage and rap. You got to have clean clothes on. So when you're on tour, you got to learn this stuff. Sometimes you leave the concert. Most times you leave the concert and it's after the tour. I'm sorry, it's after the show. Wait a minute. You leave the concert after the show and it's nothing to eat. The restaurant's closed. Okay. Can you cook? or you hitting McDonald's and pizza and something off the gas station. You can't survive like that. You have to cook. You got to cook. You got to know how to cook, and cook a quick meal and know what to go get and know how to get it. You know, catering and hospitality is the beginning of learning how to talk. Transportation and hotels. Somebody else, hey, we had a DJ. I want a DJ. We said book the hotels. What do you mean book the hotels? I came to DJ. Okay, you'll get there. But before that, where you gonna sleep after you DJ? How do you get into the town in which you are in? How do you actually get there? What is the actual procedure to enter a city, get a hotel room, something to eat, arrive on stage, get on the stage, get off the stage, get back to the hotel room, and get to the next gig? You think that's easy? And that's what every apprentice learns while they're on the tour. Some don't even make it past 3 shows. It's so grueling. I've had people come on as apprentice. I say, look, we're going to drive from LA to San Francisco. It's a 6-hour drive. Oh, I can't. Oh, 6 hours. You can't live this. You can't live this. Now I'm going to hit that flight, dude. I'm out. I got to hit that flight. Okay, cool. But you're not living the life. The life is on the ground. You got to put gas in the car. You got to talk to people. you got to be on the ground, okay, to talk. You got to go through the hood. You know, you driving through New Orleans on the I-10 and got to get gas. You can't be afraid. Get off the I-10. Anywhere on the I-10 in New Orleans, the hood. Okay? You getting off trying to get gas and asking the wrong person the wrong thing. Come on now, you got to know how to navigate in the hood. What if you with all of us? We pull up in the hood and I tell you, go in the store and get the gas. All black neighborhood, black faces, hoodies on. Dudes is looking at you crazy with gold teeth. Why? Because you're the only white man out there. And I purposely sent your ass out there. Purposely. Get out there and go get the gas. We right in the middle of Mississippi, somewhere dark off the I-20. We don't know nothing and nobody. But why am I doing this? Because you'll realize that you ain't no safer there than when you are down in City Hall. Get some courage about yourself. These black people ain't no enemies of yours or criminals. Get it off your mind. Get it out your head. And not just white people think this, black people think this. I ain't not going to that store. Look at them. No, get your ass in the store. This is hip hop. If you can't relate to thugs, criminals, thieves, if you can't relate, then you're not in the culture. And I'm not saying that that's our culture. I'm not saying that that's our culture, but I'm not negating that that's not part of our culture. If you can't talk to drug dealers, if you can't navigate through the hood, how are you a hip hop teacher? How are you a hip hop teacher? You could be a teacher. You could be a teacher of hip hop. You could, do that. But if you can't walk down Brooklyn, if you can't walk down Flatbush Avenue, and I mean confidently, like I'm looking for Aki and Saltfish right now, and this store is whack, and this one might have it. If you can't do, how are you a hip hop teacher? You can't walk in the Bronx, Harlem, Compton, California? What's left of Cabrini Green in Chicago? I mean, like you can't, none of that. Philadelphia, no, none of that. Well, this is what I'm talking about. This is the beginning of this first lesson. And that's why I'm trying to impart it to you in the way that I'm imparting it to you. It's the beginning of the first lesson. That a real hip hop teacher has already proven himself, have already proven themselves. You don't have to doubt a real hip hop teacher. The evidence is right there. I hope you don't doubt me. The evidence is right there. And that's why I'm teaching. Why? Because I care about the culture. Another lesson we taught today. care. If you don't care for your culture, you can't teach it. If you don't care for your people, you can't educate them. And a lot of these teachers, not just hip hop teachers, but teachers in general, they don't care for the students. And not criticizing the teacher. You can't care for the student. You got all types of stuff on your own mind. You in your own world. You doing your own thing. So you don't have time. This ain't your culture even. When you leave here, you go somewhere else. These ain't your kids. This ain't your culture. We may all be black. We all may be white. We all may be Asian. We may all be Latino, but you ain't my kid. And I'm going where I really go. Now, the hip-hop teacher can't be like that. The hip-hop teacher has to respect, love, and cherish their students and apprentices. This gives you the lesson plan. This gives you the strength and the stamina to withstand the stupidity of your students and apprentices. I went through some real stupid shit. I be like, okay, well, you like, dude, you know this is stupid, okay? And some of me going through it right now. some, okay, I'm not gonna get into it, but some really dumb things be going on, okay? So the temple, as a teacher of the temple, sure, you could get upset and try to correct or this, that, and the other, but ultimately your heart has to be, you have to have patience to teach. There's no way around it. You gotta have patience, and patience with ignorance, patience with immaturity, patience with suspicion and haughtiness, and who is he? Who did he think he is? And I know too, and I read books too. That you got to deal with that. You got to have patience. You got to have patience. That's why I say when this was getting put together, I was facing all of that. I was facing all of it, and it taught me this. It taught me this. It taught me real love for your culture. The true love for your culture is when your culture's dissing you and disrespecting you, and you still are on the work because you know they don't know. Forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. That statement, we lived it. Okay, lived it. Many times I was on the cross. Straight up. You can just go through my history. Dudes had me on the cross, nails in the hand, head, foot, all of that. What happened? I resurrected. What happened though? In real hip-hop history, okay? I resurrected because I know the law. I follow the law. What's the law? Health, love, awareness, and wealth. Ding! I want that for my people. I don't even care if you hate me. I still think you should be healthy. I still think if you hip-hop, you should have some love in your heart. Even if it's not for me. Tell me who you love. So, okay, if you hip-hop, you should have awareness. You don't have to know about me, but tell me, what do you know about our culture and about your living in this culture? Hip-hop, wealth. You ain't got to be rich to hang with me. Or if you are rich, I'm not ostracizing and disrespecting you because you got money. No, I hang with the rich and I work for the poor. Now tomorrow you could say you saw KRS-ONE stomping once more. That was back in '88. I hang with the rich and I work for the poor. Straight up. This is what it is. But this is what a hip-hop teacher is. This is what a hip-hop teacher is. I want my culture to be healthy, loving, aware, and wealthy. And I'm going to show you how to do it because I'm experiencing it right now. I'm experiencing it right now. Health, love, awareness, and wealth. You don't see me hunched over. You don't see me whatever. Okay? You're looking at a healthy teacher right now. Straight up and down. Healthy. Right here, right now. And I praise God for that. Right now, right here, healthy. And I say that in a time where other rappers are dying and in the hospital and falling off in health, I'm saying, you know, in that sense. And I pray for that. I wish we all would just join the temple call. Just read. Let's just come together. But again, people got to do what they got to do. And people got to live how they got to live. And so you treat people how they treat themselves. You can't want everybody to do what you want to do or how you want to do it. And as a teacher, you got to be patient. You got to be patient with that. And so we are patient and we're caring of our people, even those who diss us and don't support us. We still know that you deserve health, though. We still know that you deserve love, awareness, some sort of knowledge. You ain't got to agree with me, but these principles are outside of me. You know, you deserve peace, love, unity, joy. You deserve that. That's a human thing. I ain't got to teach that or try to impart that onto you or this kind of thing or try to convince you of that. I just think you should be at peace. Why are you angry? I think you should be at peace. This is the character of hip hop's cultural teacher, at least the first character of hip hop's cultural teacher. There will be others characters. Imagine 100 years from now, there will be magnificent hip hop teachers. I will only be the first. And I say only because I'm envisioning dudes going way past me. Like, you know, like in 100 years, they say, well, there was this guy called KRS-ONE. He started this whole thing teaching hip hop. He had a temple called the Temple of Hip Hop. And, you know, all of this kind, or maybe the temple's still around. You know, yeah, he did this thing. They'll mention it. They'll mention the whole thing. But I'm hoping that they'll say, you know, like I'm Abraham, let's say, but there was a King David. And then there was, I probably would be Moses more. No, Abraham, right. There was a Moses, and then there was a King David, and all the other figures up to Jesus, and the Christ, and all of that. I would hope that we would be so lucky and so blessed as that I would be looked at as the minimum, the least of this culture, the least. That people would say, when KRS-ONE was rapping, he was considered the best of his time. And people say, for this? for Can You Dance? Or for, you know, this kind of thing? That was the best of its time? Okay, but this is what we doing now in 2100. This is how we doing it. We respect that. Well, here's the same way we look at James Brown. I would hope that we would be looked at, our first generation, same way. Nobody dissing no James Brown, okay? Ain't no, you'll get punched in your face dissing James Brown, okay? Around some hip hoppers, some real hip hoppers, okay? They ain't getting had. James Brown is the God, okay? Right there, on all levels, okay? Rapping, break beats, MC, all he had to do was pick up a spray can. He would have been hip hop straight up, and James Brown supported hip-hop, unlike the others of the same movement that did not. James Brown was an avid supporter of hip-hop. Having said that, though, we do something totally different today. We do something, and with his music. Okay, and with his music. Okay, we do something totally different with his music. But we've advanced it. And we've advanced. And why we say that we've advanced it? Because people were not listening to James Brown when we started coming up. Imagine that. Imagine that. The disco era and all of that wiped out soul, R&B, early rock and roll, rhythm and blues. Nobody was listening to James Brown. Matter of fact, if you really want to get the statement on this, go to Stetsasonic. There's a record called Talking All That Jazz. Stetsasonic. I think it was Daddy O, or one of the band members said, tell the truth. You know, old R&B, rock and roll, or something. James Brown was old until Eric B. and Rakim came out with I Got Soul. You know, like, and it, you know, rap brings back old R&B. And if we would not, people would have forgot. Go back and analyze those lyrics of Stetsasonic Talking All That Jazz. It speaks to what we're talking about here today. They were speaking against the criticism they were receiving from the older generation for this new thing called rap and hip hop. 60s civil rights generation, some of them was dissing us. Jazz community was dissing us. Especially the jazz community had some harsh words. Early hip hop. And so Stetsasonic spoke back, and with a record called Talking All That Jazz, one of their biggest records, a hip hop classic. And they spoke back, talking all that jazz, speaking to jazz artists that was dissing hip hop. But go back and look at the lyric. We are advancing upon this. That's how we know we are doing well by our ancestors. We're pushing them forward. not just with our own opinion. We asked James Brown. He said, yes, you're pushing this whole thing forward. We asked Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, the champion of Black power. Are we doing this right? He said, yes, you are doing this right. We spoke to the children of Dr. King, the children of Malcolm X, who are also hip hop, by the way, and participates in the movement, in the culture, in the conferences throughout the years, as well, amongst others. Groups like X-Clan, we're dealing with Sonny Carson and Lumumba Carson, and these names are all jumbled up in my head. But X-Clan was dealing with a pro-Black movement right there, keeping it right. And I'm saying to you, there was no continuation of Pan-African, pro-Black, or the Black Power movement. None of this was in rock and roll, jazz, gospel. No, you might have had people who participated in these movements and then go back and blow their horn or praise God in a gospel sense. But as far as a culture like music, like you took your music and continued a social movement in your music. That's hip hop, okay? While X-Clan and them were dealing with the Black Power movement, I was dealing with humanism and metaphysics and consciousness and Black power with Stokely Carmichael and Kwame Ture and others like Chuck D was with the Nation of Islam, Minister Farrakhan, and all of that. You can even say, to an extent, Malcolm X. He did stand there as well, and you know the arguments. But that whole thing, this is hip hop, taking these Black movements and Latino movements. I don't even have enough time to get into that as well, because the Latino contribution, oh man, I mean, oh man, do I have to say Alphonse Schomburg first? Puerto Rican, a champion of Black, so many Black scholars said they learned their Blackness from this Puerto Rican called Alphonse Schomburg. The Schomburg Center on 135th Street in Harlem is named after him, and to this day houses African-American documents, all types of histories. We did the Stop the Violence movement video there and had the meeting of the minds in 1994 with all of hip-hop's pioneers and movers and shakers there as well. Very famous place. Puerto Rican. I don't have to get into the Puerto Rican contribution to hip-hop or the scholars, the Puerto Rican scholars and their contribution to hip-hop. Don't have to get into all of that. But I mentioned this, you know, well, I'm coming up on my time. In fact, as I looked at the time, it's 3:03, and that is the end of this lecture. So again, let me just put a period here, put a pause on this. To be a hip hop teacher, you have to have patience. To be a hip hop teacher, to be a hip hop apprentice and student, you can't be suspicious of your teacher or your institution. To be a hip hop teacher, you can't be impatient and uncaring of your student. There's a two-way street. To be a hip hop teacher, you have to be well-versed in hip hop, not well-versed in everything else. Sure, you have to be versed in other sciences, religions, cultures, but be versed in hip hop. Be well-versed in hip hop. Read the books, support them. A hip hop teacher has an extensive hip hop library because that teacher has spent money on hip hop's authorship. That's important as well. I didn't get to that lesson yet. We'll get there as we read further with the teacher, but I want to take these lessons slowly. It's because this is important. This is where we start building our temple and start building our city. You have to understand this. What does it mean to be a hip hop teacher? What does it really mean? It means that you're learning from hip hop's first teacher, culturally. Now, to be a hip hop teacher, you could just take these tenets in and be a hip hop teacher, meaning I care about hip hop. I care about the learning of the student. these kind of things. So I'm a teacher of hip hop. I have a thirst for teaching. I love hip hop. I care about these students, and I have a lesson plan. That's a hip hop. That's a teacher of hip hop. But if you want to be a hip hop teacher, a real with TEACHA, if you want to be a hip hop teacher, a real hip hop, you have to be ordained. And to be ordained means you have to be on this call. This call is your ordination. You have to be able to say, I read the gospel of hip hop with the author. You have to be able to say that to be a hip hop teacher. And when I leave this earth, others will not be able to say that. And this is why the Temple of Hip Hop as an institution is what this is all about. So as an institution, I'm leaving the authority to teach hip hop within the institution, within the study. So those that hold up the institution and are in alignment with the study, you are a real hip hop teacher, straight up. Don't let nobody tell you nothing different. Okay, you're a real hip hop teacher. These other teachers that are accredited by these other schools that ain't got nothing to do with our culture, like nothing. Yale, Harvard, Stanford, UCLA, they have nothing to do with our culture. You have your own thing going. But they have hip hop courses and master classes and exhibits and this kind of thing. And fine, we're not angry about that. We actually appreciate it. That's fine. But you are not the authority on the teaching of hip hop. Let's just be clear with that. You're not the authority. And to teach, you have to have authority. You gotta have authority to teach. Why else go to school and spend thousands of dollars on an education to receive a degree, and then be told you're a professional if none of this matters? If it's like, nah, I could just learn hip hop and I could just learn to be a hip hop teacher. Nah, that's not how it works in education. And that ain't how it works in culture. That's why people spend extra money to go to MIT to learn the same thing you probably could have learned at a state university. People spend money on a medical degree in, at Yale Medical School, Harvard Medical School, this one's medical school. And you can get the same knowledge at some other medical school that's state-run, a state-run school. And you can get the same thing for cheaper, but it's not Harvard. When you leave the school, they say, where did you study? I'm a Harvard man. Well, that means something to the world, okay? That means something. But regardless, whatever your opinion is about Harvard or whatever, it don't matter. A Harvard degree means something culturally. It means something in the Western world. It means something that you walked out of a university with a Yale law degree. That means something in the judicial system, in the world. That means something. Well, the same way, that means something here, that you're studying hip hop at the Yale of the study, at the Harvard of the study, at the Vatican of the study is where you're studying your hip hop at. Take that in seriously. Take it seriously. Take it seriously. I'm the founder of the Temple of Hip Hop, and I joined the Temple of Hip Hop. I don't tell people I'm the founder of the Temple of Hip Hop. I tell people I'm a student. Okay, I'm a student. I'm here learning within the temple. I could not find satisfaction with the schools and learning institutions that I grew up in, so I invented my own, period. That's what gods do, They invent the environment that they enter. Remember that. So at the end of the day, we have the Temple of Hip Hop. Why? Because hip hoppers are not getting taught about themselves. And if you talk about yourself, if you're talking about education of oneself, then you're talking about spiritual knowledge first. You're talking about knowledge of oneself. You're talking about spiritual knowledge. You're talking about psychology. You're talking about culture, heritage, legacy. What's your identity? Who are you and why are you here? What's your purpose? That's why we have a temple for hip hop, Because these questions are not getting asked in hip hop unless we exist. And we exist, so we ask the questions. And we've been asking these questions and making hip hoppers think about these questions. And making hip hoppers think. And I'm saying this to you because this is the job of the teacher. We're teaching a whole culture. We're teaching a whole culture. So you got to be versed in everybody's culture, and you got to be well versed in your own. And what I hinted to also was support hip hop's teachers by mentioning their name. If you quote their books, say their names. Buy hip hop books. Real hip hop teachers have an extensive library, not just because you're reading every single book, but pay for it. It is actually more important to buy a hip hop book than to read it. Real talk on that. Of course, if you buy a book, you should read it. Okay? But I'm speaking to you as a hip hop teacher. It is better to support our teachers financially than even reading their work. You should read the work, but buy the book, buy the DVD, go to the lecture, attend the school or the course. I'm critical of all hip hop courses because I'm the first teacher, but I suggest you go and take them. Support the teacher that's at least teaching. They don't got to agree with me. They don't have to agree with our teachings. But the mere fact that they're teaching hip hop, the Temple of Hip Hop goes to support. And even correct, if you'll take the correction, we'll tell you. Spell hip hop with a capital H next time. But the point is, though, go to the gift shop and pay for the exhibit. Pay for something. Put your money down for hip hop's teachers. That's going to help hip hop's teachers. So this is going to conclude. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I'm concluding. Let me read 19 one more time and make sure I concluded correctly. I don't think I read the whole thing through, and we're going to stop on 19. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Every philosopher knows that the purpose of knowledge is to relieve human suffering. Yet those who know rarely share that which they know, either because of their own fear of their own loss of power over the ignorant, or of the consequences of speaking truth. Every time someone steps up with a radically new view towards something, a gang of critics appear with the sole purpose of discrediting, dishonoring, and even disrespecting the truth speaker and his truth teachings. And even though I am a target for such attacks in my time, this lesson is not solely about your apprenticeship with KRS. This lesson is about leadership and our approach to it in all areas of life. Stop there, because now we're going to talk about leadership. And this is, I want you to make several notes here. Stop here at 19, okay? Now, from paragraph 1 to paragraph 19, that's one lesson, which is what you say to an apprentice looking to join the Temple of Hip Hop, or join your temple, more accurately, your Temple of Hip Hop. When you become teacher and open a Temple of Hip Hop in your city, if you so decide to do so, or if in fact somebody's saying, what is the Temple of Hip Hop? How do I become a serious apprentice? Not somebody saying, what is the Temple of Hip Hop? Just tell them to go online. But if somebody says, no, why are you a temple member, and how do you really get involved? This is the angle you come from. This is the angle right here. You tell the person, listen, you really want this? You're going to have to serve first, because we are all servants of the culture, including our teacher. In fact, as an apprentice, we serve the teacher as he serves the culture. We don't need to serve no teacher that's not serving the culture. We don't serve our teacher personally. That we don't do. We serve our teacher in the mission we are all on. Everybody's on this mission. But if you're not willing to serve, you can't even be part of the mission. That's the lesson. That's the beginning of this lesson, service. And like I said, now within the lesson, you got to love your students got to love you. You got to respect your students got to respect you. You got to be well versed. This is all in the first lesson. That's why we're taking it slow. This is in the first lesson. Okay? Now, having said that, now go to 19. Next week, we're going to read this lesson from 20, and this lesson goes all the way to, well, it's actually a short lesson because it goes from 20 to 30, from paragraph 20 to paragraph 30, and then lesson 3 begins. As a matter of fact, if you want to do this with me, let's just go through it right now. If you want to make notes, for those that want to take the notes, take these notes with me right now before we conclude. I'll just give you the notes right now. So the first lesson is called, or you can note the first lesson as Temple Apprenticeship Introduction. Okay, this is the introduction to the Temple Apprenticeship, or you can call it a Temple Apprenticeship Introduction. You're introducing the apprentice to the temple. Okay, that's one. That's lesson 1. And there's those tenets in the lesson that I gave you. You may want to put those notes under this. Then there's lesson 2, which begins at paragraph 20. And the name of this lesson is The Conduct of Our Society. This is the conduct of our society. And the subtext or subtitle is The Way in Which We Approach Leadership. So look at the first part is how we approach the teacher, really how we approach the temple, and how we as teachers approach ourselves. That's the point. This one is about leadership, which is what a teacher is, a leader. And so this is about leadership. This next lesson is how we approach leadership, how we approach hip hop's leadership. So that's next week. And that's called The Conduct of Our Society. It starts, lesson 2, it starts at paragraph 20. Okay. Then you go over to paragraph 30. And this is KRS-ONE's declaration to his apprentice. This is what I am saying to you at the top of our apprenticeship. This is lesson 3, and it starts on paragraph 30. Then lesson 4 starts on paragraph 36. And it is a description of the teacher, a description of the hip hop teacher. This is what a hip hop teacher looks like. Okay, that's on paragraph 36. That starts at paragraph 36. Okay. Hold on. I had this other one here. Hold on. Because, hold on, 4 goes for a minute. I want to make sure I have everything because I already have my highlights here as well. Yeah, here we are. All right, so lesson 4, which is paragraph 36, starts at paragraph 36, which is called A Description of the Hip Hop Teacher. And the subtitle is What a Hip Hop Teacher Looks Like. Now, the last and final lesson, which is 5, the 5th lesson of this, begins at paragraph 128. That's on page 490. Paragraph 128. Okay, paragraph 128. And that's a description of the hip hop learning institution. What is a real hip hop school? What does it really look like? We get into that. So again, lesson 5 is paragraph 128. And this is how we're going to break these up. I'll probably do 3 and 4. I'll probably do 2 and 3 next week and then probably 4 and 5 the week after that, because we have slides and things to show you as well. This particular lesson starts to get a little more complicated as we go down the line. You're going to see a lot more video and things like this, because we're now getting into the bulk now of the lesson. Now we went through the character and the conduct and the mind state of the hip hopper. We're now talking about offices and titles and you as teacher, and you're setting up your own temple now in the city in which you're in. You're becoming a temple representative in the cities in which you're actually in. So that's the 5 lessons which break down. Next week we're gonna start obviously at 19. At 20, and take it from there. I probably will do 2 and 3 because they're so close together. 4 is a long lesson, so I'm probably going to do 2 and 3 next week. But just understand what this week has been all about as well. This week, this lesson this week begins you as a hip hop teacher. That's what this week begins. You as a hip hop teacher. That's going to conclude our lesson this week. I'm going to throw it over to Son One, who is not going. No, I understand. Son One is actually taking care of some other business right now in that sense, but he is still handling the Temple of Hip Hop broadcast at this particular moment. So I am speaking to him or about him. He's part of the call, but he will not be closing this week. One of the only times that Son One is not closing out like this. Just know also that this is one of the standards of our temple as well. When we walk into our building as well, the teacher is always in the middle of the lesson. We have someone open up at the beginning. Usually the acronologist, GSIMONE, will open up at the beginning. KRS-ONE then follows up, and Son One concludes with a summary of everything that was discussed. Try to follow that as well when you open your own temples. Think about that. You may have a different structure as well, and you're allowed to do that. But the originals, he was setting a standard, a precedence, a foundation. Just know that this is how we actually do it, and we're so honored actually to have Simone lead us in that way. Of course, it's Women's History Month, but every month is Women's History Month. Y'all know that. Here at the Temple of Hip Hop, we champion women's rights, femininity. We're all about that here. Don't get it twisted at all. This is what we're about. As a matter of fact, I'm proud of my history with women in general. I was going to say femininity, and as a philosopher, the concepts of femininity and so on. You'll notice in my music as well that I'm always talking about the goddess. People used to make fun of us about that. They used to ridicule us with that, call us all kinds of names, the cults and all types of stuff, because we were elevating women to divine status. Men have a trouble doing, some men, really boys, have a problem with that. But real men do not. And real men exalt their women, or exalt women, I should say. When I say their women, meaning, family members and so on. You have no problem exalting women, none whatsoever. And hip hop doesn't have a problem exalting women either. So much so that women are out of control in hip hop. There's no restraint on any hip hop women, so to speak, in this culture, even to our detriment, I must say. So we say that during Women's History Month, and as Simone mentioned with Cindy as well. Big up to you, Cindy, if you're watching, listening to us. Sometimes they tune in, but Cindy, big up to you, because if it wasn't for you, Herc even says if it wasn't for Cindy, there'd be no party. It's Cindy that said, we're doing a party and you're going to be the DJ, and that was it. Okay, and it was done, and this is a good thing. We thankful for the fact that Cindy actually did that. So remember, when we're talking about forefathers of hip hop, and he did this and he did that, always remember that technically, culturally, hip hop begins with a woman. Begins with Cindy on that side. Cool Herc begins the other, that's the guy in the front. But just take a look at that, even. Just take a look at that on the cultural side. We give Cindy that, as a matter of fact. And she's a friend, and a friend of the family, friend of our family, as well. And I say this to you in that way as a hip hop teacher. I'm not just talking about Cindy. This is my friend. This is a comrade. This is somebody I know. So it colors my teaching. It colors my teaching, even to a point of view of bias. Be careful with that too. And I'm being honest with it. I'm never going to say anything wrong about Cindy. Find somebody else to do that. But I'm not. That's not me. That's my homegirl. That's who I'm dealing with. Same thing with her. That's my man. That's my dude right there. He's not just Cool Herc. We know who he is. You know what I'm saying? I know who Herc is. But no, it's still a friend. You know what I'm saying? It's still a friend in that sense. And as a hip hop teacher, who are your friends? Who are your friends? I would hope to be one of your first friends. Where you can say, I know who KRS-ONE is, but he's also a friend. He's my friend. He's a friend of mine. He's somebody that I can call up and rely upon even. And you can. Know that as well. Know that as well. This is our culture. This is our life. This is how we get down. This is how we do it. So just know that there's some people out here that care about this culture immensely. And we're going to rise. We're going to do what we're supposed to do to keep our culture alive and keep it developing for our children. We are their heritage. We are their history. We are their lineage. What we don't do, they don't get. And what we do is what they get, for better or for worse. So let's do the better. Let's be better as a culture, as a people. Let's be better. Let's be the best people we possibly can be. There it is. And I leave you now with this. We'll go out with a video, but I'll see you next week, Sunday, 12 o'clock. Peace and much love to all of you. Remember, you are not just doing hip hop. You are hip hop. I'm out.
Yo, check your mic. Let's test these levels.
Check.
Okay, word. We got the sound. Let me know when the break's coming in.
Nah, there's no break. I'm just gonna go straight through.
I kick that shit.
Heaven sent, I can prove this. Any crowd, turn me up loud, KR will move this. Long before Eazy-E, this MC, he was ruthless. Kicking rhyme, spitting rhyme, written rhyme, freestyle, I do's this. Who's this? You don't know me, homie, I'm the one and only. I turn your tool into a toll, tell you owe me. You ain't gotta go to the past to know me, homie. I'm KRS-ONE, my power is now, Eckhart Tolle. These rappers are bony and lonely. I'll catch them coming out of Shoney's. I don't Oscar or admire, they baloney. No phony. I spit for the time from the mind. So when I spit off the head, of course I'm ahead of my time. Yes, I'm better with rhyme, and it's evident I'm the lyrically benevolent kind. This you never gon' find. I'm spitting plenty medleys. This is work, not a job. Rappers are crying like a boss in reverse. They solve. That's when they get robbed and disappointed. They not anointed, get them set up like an appointment. I spit the same heat you like to joint with. Fire, spit the truth, no liar. Heaven sent, this is higher. The mic cooks, I write books. The heavyweight champion. The song becomes a knockout with the right hook. I'm raw, meaning not cooked. These fake rappers heads are down, cause in the face of KRS they do not look. 40 cal style, rap-a-pum like big drums. When I heat up the club to 420, it's done. Light up the teach with the chung. I teach when I come. Knowledge reign is supreme. What these rappers speaking is dumb. It's a treat when I come. I'm not what you used to. I'm the return of Khufu all over these tracks like choo-choo. I'm the guru. So when my teaching premieres, it's gangstar. Hitting you and your man in the same car. These whack rappers, fuck who they are. KRS is like a hooligan, hitting them all with the same bars. Hooligans, hitting them with the same bars. Your whack style just ain't ours. Venus to Mars. I'm
teaching with bars, spitting these bars, but youngins under 21 can't even get into these bars. So I don't blame them if they not seeing these bars, cause when I hit them with my universal, they seeing the stars. Speaking of bars, when I spit one, you can see it's all about impact over an income. The big one, multi-directional and exceptional. 10 of my first 20 albums are all collectibles. You feel the heat when I'm next to you, truly legendary. Underground, undetectable, and revolutionary. Most of what's going on today, you know we knew already. I tried to teach our people about poverty, it took too many. It shook too many. We can see what a curse is, so I re-emerge to show these youngins who the first is. The minister, frying rap chickens like churches. And the worst is seeing your temperature taken by nurses. IV bags, your family picking out hearses. It's like you at the Barclays Center, you won't survive these verses. Sprite means spirit, so I obey what my thirst is. The whole planet, so-called Earth, is what my turf is. KRS-ONE.
Hold up, yo, I got this. Yo, this is about to be fire. Levels is on point. You sound good out here. Let's get this project started.
MC, are you one too? You spell it out as each letter I said to you. I am a MC, are you one too? That's the title of the project that I'm sending to you. It's a message to MCs that whatever you do, keep your skills tight, the future is dependent on you. Never spit for only money or what they handing to you. Spit for the people, try to predict what your man gon' do. Get hungry on them, look at rappers with a cannibal view. I roll with an animal crew and we battle the few. But these days I'm spitting in the party after it's through. Cypher style, getting it in with a spectacular view. You ain't attacking the crew, in fact we clapping at you. I wish they would so I can snap these rappers in two. I'll be rapping from the south up to Kalamazoo, smacking rappers around like the tennis rackets they do. I'll be spitting what's legitimate, factual, actual, and true. Put the mic down for another sound I'm not gonna do. I was there in the beginning, I'll be there when it's through. I am a MC, are you one too?
What's up, y'all? It's the Blast Master KRS-ONE. Look, I'm dropping a new album February 22nd. It's on.
I am a MC, are you one too? If you got a chance to spit it, what you gonna do? I'm too hot to handle, too hot for fans too. When I spit my MC like they say, we cram to understand you. I stay hot like the Sudan do. Open your mind, I plan to. With real knowledge, nothing you can't do. Knowledge reigns supreme on these fakers I trample. Show up at the spot while they mumble and ramble. Pull out the wax, burn these rappers down like a candle. Watching them scramble, this is just a little example. The street teacher type, at the peak of hype, the leader type, the street preacher type, culture keeper, divine speaker type, truth seeker type, deeper type, seeking freedom type, the eager type, KRS-ONE, that's what he is like, making sure the family eating right while we seeking light. Real skill when I squeeze the mic, you gonna see tonight. 146 in Broadway, that's the throwback. Broadway RT 86, that's where the show's at. Jump on the mic with no skill, you get your nose cracked. Me, I was drilling them, killing them, man, you know that. All across 110th Street, Bobby Womack. Youngin' saying that's the OG, that's that old cat. That's the teacher speaking that new rap and old rap. I'm giving you your heritage back, youngin', hold that.
Yo, peace, this is Son One. We in the studio right now with the one, the only, the legendary Blastmaster KRS-ONE. We're working on his new project, I Am a MC, Are You One Too? I was featured on the Between the Protests album. You might have caught some of the joints, Don't Fall For It, Murder We Just Saw, Metanetta, a couple of joints on that. But this new album, he's formulating for MCs. An album by MCs for MCs. That Hardship, real raw boom bap, the gutter shit, the shit that we all came up on, the original shit that everybody loves worldwide across the board. So this is I Am a MC, Are You One Too? And we got mad joints coming on this.
know, of course, I'll give you some more kicks. That's the volume of it. Hearing more. And that's the EQ. Is it 2 kicks?
It's like a velocity type of thing.
So, okay, there's that. There's that, boom, boom. Is there another one? Is there another kick?
Nah, that's it.
Wait, just add it some. No, give me a kick.
Nah, the drums already gone.
That's the drum. Nice. Okay. We need to crunch this more. Because right now the kick is like, wow. I like it. So the bass, you can cut through the bass.
Gotcha.
Okay. I see what we doing. Oh, this shit is hard. Okay, so you gonna go first, and I'll go. Yo, where'd you get this beat?
I hit up DJ Static, I told him I need magic. I spit that abracadabra, his beat was automatic. He boom, 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 backed it. The microphone, I grabbed it. This combination you facing, I'm about to let them have it. I'm graphic, these rappers wait till 2022 to begin to blink. The fuck with the KRS-ONE?
That's what it is.
Dropping albums one after another one, I'm in my 50s now. Look, this is the name of the new album. It's called IMAMCRU12. It's each letter IMAMCRU, a 1 and a 2. That's the name of the new project. I'm dropping it February 22nd, 2022. IMAMCRU12. Let's get it in. I like the sound of it. Only a few heads ever come around this shit. No getting around this shit, I'm pounding it. When I add rock, I get so beastie, boy. I start growling spit. You drowning in it. My flow is like the OG Kush. You loving every ounce that you get. I made it out of the pit. No clam and no glit. This may be Run's house, but I'm the handyman pulling hammers real quick. You can't touch this with a hand or a grip. Rappers avoiding the smoke like a cigarette after it's lit. I spit the tactical, mathematical, actual shit. After I spit, it's a grip I'm about to go get. Got skills? You a rapper? This the question for you. IMAMC, are you one too? Turn to your friends if they spit it, ask them too. IMAMC, are you one too?
And so we're celebrating all of MCing. And the word is MCing. We're not really celebrating this other craziness that's going on, but we celebrating the original art of MCing. Putting words together, metaphors together, spitting movies, as we said. This is what we dealing with. And of course, those bars. We coming with the bars, beats and rhyme skills. Bars. And so this is what it is. IMAMC, are you one too?
Yeah, yo, it's all about the spitting. It's all about the freestyle and the written. 2 mics is a tie, son, I'm hard hitting. I'm not robbing, I'm giving, you need to listen, I am insistent. With all due respect, I come correct, ain't no wishing. I shook hands with mics, so now I'm mic gripping. Listen, double metaphors on tours are quite sickening. On TV, everybody look like they hitting. Until we in the club and the dark starts to thicken. The mic is handed to you and your heart starts to quicken. If through a screen is how you seen, of course you winning. But when we listen, you ain't got a pot to piss in. If you searching like Google do for the unusual, this musical music you cruising to, it might be suitable. I'm giving you the boom bap crack crack and the boom boom boom. I'm spitting that shit so rappers don't know what the do. Who they asking while I'm passing. The morning starter, Christos, I speak with passion. Speakers blasting, asking who smashed the party. Then go back to the college to discuss Marcus Garvey. There's hardly a better one. Flipping the letters, son. I spit the metal netter, so of course I am the better one. Can you dance? Let's find out. see everybody on the dance floor right now. I'm about to put y'all to the test. Let's go. Do you know the dances? Do you know the hip-hop dances? Let's see. This one is the raw for sure, taking no chances. Bringing back them old school dances, here's the answers. Whether you remember or you're new to this endeavor, dance is a major part of this culture forever. What are we preserving if the children ain't learning? Culture ain't about just numbering and just wording. Sometime you gotta show the culture at the party. Let's start with the Bismarck dance. Come on, everybody. The Bismarck, the party bout to get sparked. This is that moment you get live, get courage, get hard. I spit art, I'm one of a kind, they not me. I'm digitally underground like Shock G. Speaking of Shock G, when I jump, we jump. That's crisscross, but we talking about Humpty Hump. When you up, what? This is your chance. Come on everybody, do the Humpty dance. Let's go. Was the Humpty, now let's get it chunky. Like Biz used to say, yo, let's get funky. Funky, with the funk flow, we don't stop. Right about now, we gonna take it to the WAP. Remember the WAP, feet slide, shoulder drop. We did it in the clubs, we even did it on the block. Ready, set, go, stand on your spot. Take it to the top, come on y'all, let's do the WAP. Non-stopping, hip-hopping, we dropping. We ain't even get yet to popping or locking. It's shocking how many dance moves we came with. Obviously, we and the ancestors got the same gift, the same lift, the same riff, and the same split. Like Bob Marley said, when the music hits, it's painless. You can't tame this or hate this. You gotta love me. Come on, y'all, let me see you do the Dougie. Woo! That's right. That's right. This that part where we go freestyle. Some of y'all doing the Cabbage Patch, some of y'all doing the Running Man. Let me see what you got. Come on.